Hey, Skylar, why don't we do this?
Yeah.
Why don't you and Justin on your end, whatever y'all are doing, take care of the chatty chat,
Okay.
Okay.
and if
Okay.
something let us know, because that way I don't have to switch between too many screens at one time.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
Ooh. Does it still have that 30-second delay?
Maybe.
I'm sure. I'm sure it does.
Oh no, we're up.
Yeah. I gotta mute my end, or I'll be like, too
I
much.
know. That's what I just did. Like, didn't you just say that, Keith?
Yeah, I did. You gotta mute it, or it'll throw you off.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you're out there in the great world of YouTube, hey, thanks for joining us.
Woo!
I have like no. Hey, it's weird.
No, what? What's going on?
I'm having like technical issues on my end, so.
Oh, what else is new?
No, it's just the YouTube feed itself. Hello, people.
How's everyone doing tonight?
I hope you're all doing well in your area of the whatever.
Yeah.
Area or whatever.
A little trippy because it keeps going back and forth.
Oh yeah, you
Oh, yeah.
You might get used to it.
yeah. That's the big thing is trying to follow the leads when it's and it works a little bit better when everybody's like one person is doing all the talking, so it doesn't trip as much. But then when everybody's like going back and forth, um, the audio is trying to catch up with the people talking, so you're seeing that person talking. Now I can manually control that if you want me to.
I think that'd probably be better.
All right. So
Yeah.
what everybody's going to see this week is so main screen, and then and we're going to have to be real clear on who's talking, so it'll go back and forth like that. So
Right.
I'll click on whoever's up. So right now everybody's seeing me.
Yay.
Cool. Yeah. I think for the most part you could keep it on the main screen.
I think so too. Unless somebody starts to talk like a lot more, and then
Yeah,
you can put it on them and
Yeah.
like that. I think that'll be a much better option.
All right, that works for me.
Otherwise, it's just going to keep going flip back and forth. So.
Yeah.
And yes, Jessica, there is a delay.
Yeah, 30 seconds roughly.
No,
Yeah.
not 30. We should be on a 30-second delay.
It's a pretty big delay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let me go and look at that then, because I should be on a no delay feature.
I think you won that last time too, though.
Yeah, I think it's at least 30 seconds.
No matter what, just because it has to, like, while record, it has to render and then reproduce it.
That's true.
It might be dependent on my connection. So if there's
Yeah, because it has to upload.
if there's any bandwidth going out from my end, it'll slow. Last week we was on like it wasn't that bad of a delay.
No, we were on a pretty good delay last week.
I think it was this week.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I know the week before was.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Cool. So,
Hold on a second. I've lost my cursor.
2 minutes on
Just
the hour.
Huh?
So we're 2 minutes on the hour.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the live stream's up. They're watching. Everybody's watching
Yeah.
the live. So we're
Oh,
good
yeah.
there. I'm just trying to get back to. There we go. That's what.
Sweet. All right. I'm about to post. People will be like, "Hey,
Hey, everybody.
hey."
Hey.
All right. So here we are. This is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of work.
Oh, it's always fun, man.
Say what?
It's always fun.
All right. Behind the scenes is what everybody loves to watch. Right?
Oh yeah, it's the most riveting thing ever.
Watch us do nothing for like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Is there any final points?
She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Loves you.
Don't know what's going on over there.
I have no. I'm over here and I don't know what's going on.
I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah, there we go. Hey,
Get
Skylar,
with the
we're just
lingo.
looking at you.
Oh, hey. Hey, everybody.
I like your Christmas tree, Skylar.
That's what I thought
Hey.
that was. Oh, yeah, it is.
I
Yeah.
don't think.
Hey, do you guys know what a basement is?
A basement? Yes.
Yeah, I'm in one. Imagine that.
Wow.
But you have a Christmas tree?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
That's what they do in basements in Iowa.
Yeah.
No.
Where else would you put a Christmas tree?
So I didn't expect to have a Christmas tree.
Oh, right. We celebrate the commercialism of it. Right? So we buy each other presents.
Don't you know what Christmas really?
That's what it's really about, right?
Everybody to get a present.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But I don't know. I just didn't expect him to actually celebrate it, like with a Christmas tree.
We don't actually celebrate it, but we practice the commercialism aspect because it's fun to get presents.
Okay.
All right. So we'll try to. Let's see.
We celebrate the winter solstice.
There you go. You're
But that's
celebrating.
on the 21st.
They're celebrating Saturnalia.
Oh.
Saturnalia. That's
So you're a pagan.
he is.
Okay.
He is. I thought all Buddhists were pagans. All right, that works. Are y'all ready to get started?
You know it, always.
Oh, Rizal.
Pagan for life.
Done for her faith, and I'm a believer.
Every time I hear that, I think of Shrek, and it makes me sad.
Oh.
If you didn't know, Justin, I hate Shrek.
All right, so for everybody,
really?
so for everybody that's watching, we would love to have. Thanks,
I don't
thanks,
get it.
Skylar.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I can't see that far.
yeah, I know. It's one day we'll have a great setup and we won't have to mess around.
One day you'll each have 32-inch screens private
There we go.
that you could all
Right
watch.
across here.
I did have glasses.
Yeah, bro. I can have this.
Here's mine.
What is that? What?
A 32-inch screen.
It's my private screen.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, nice.
I can't tell.
Let's see. All right, so let's get Audacity up. Let's get Sound Plan up. So if y'all are ready, we'll
Let's get
record.
this thing started. Whoop, whoop.
Let's try this tonight. So when the music is playing, let's not talk during the music.
Robbie was,
Robbie's not here, so I just looked at Miles.
I was like, Robbie, be quiet. He was like, why?
But but I was going to set everything up where I can control the soundboard too, from
Yeah.
where I was sitting. Yeah, that didn't happen either tonight. Let's just say a lot of
One
things
day.
didn't happen. If Justin would have like texted me, it's like, "Hey, we're gonna shift's covered."
Well, we had already posted like all of the promotional stuff for it, and then to like set it back an hour and a half. We've already set it back half an hour, but still. Like,
I mean, there's only like 5 people watching us, and they seem no 4 people, but
no, 5. It's back to 5.
this sucks. I'm not watching them anymore. No.
Yeah.
So, anyways, people who are watching us live, please feel free to comment. And again, like we know you do, you did last week very well. Ask questions during it. And hey, Facebook stuff out to other people. Tweet. Hey, there's some really stupid guys doing something really weird online. You should absolutely watch.
Don't
Or
watch
just
it.
yeah, don't watch it.
Don't
Yeah.
watch it.
The trap.
By the way, are you
More
stuck on
people in
Skylar
chat.
for the live stream?
Say what?
Are you stuck on Skylar for the live stream?
I was for a second.
Okay.
Oh, not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. I pulled it off. Just
Okay,
now.
cool. Cool.
No, I was
in
just
the spotlight.
Yeah, I gave Scholar a little FaceTime.
There you go.
All right, let's see, where are we
I
at?
felt special.
Cursor, where are you going? I literally lost my cursor. There we go. Keep losing it. All right.
Well,
Here we go.
All right, sweet.
Audacity's up. I love the free recording program because it's great. And 3, 2. What's up, guys and girls? How are you doing? Welcome
yo.
to Hitting Walls, the podcast. This is episode 23. So,
Welcome to the podcast.
yes, welcome.
Woo!
So again, we are live recording.
Yep.
And recording. Anyways, hey everybody, I'm Keith. I am the all-powerful Vader tonight.
Yeah, I see you got a new shirt.
I got a great new shirt.
Are you proud of it?
Man, I am so proud of it. You no idea the love I felt from my boy when he brought it over to the house and said, "Here you go, man." I pulled it out. I was like, "Oh!"
So for those not watching the live stream, what is it?
It's a Vader Duke shirt. It's Vader, and it says Empire, and I'm like, perfect. Hates it, but it's just
The
what
shirt was made for you.
Nice.
Appropriate.
it is. So,
Ultimate
anyways,
symbol of evil.
All right, so let's introduce who else is on the podcast. Of course, I'm Justin.
Justin, how are you doing?
Are you?
I'm doing well, and yes, I am Justin. Existentially,
Yeah.
I've checked, and I'm Justin. But yes, I'm doing well. I've been really busy today, but I got my shift covered tonight, so I can stay as long as possible.
We may need it as long as
Okay.
possible.
Okay, you got it.
Now, if you listened to the show last week, you heard me get a little emotional.
Oh yeah, towards the end.
Yeah, towards the end. And Scholar,
All the feels are coming out. Well, what's up, guys? I'm Skylar, and I'm back. I moved back home. I'm in Des Moines, and I'm webcamming in. But I'm still with you guys and still hanging out.
Woo!
now I can call him the Midwest Buddhist.
Yeah, Midwest.
Well, we're
And-
sad that you're gone from our presence, but we're glad you're still here on the podcast. So,
Yeah, me too. Me too.
wonders of technology, eh?
All right, technology.
I think if we lost Scholar, we may have lost a few people watching us.
Probably.
Everyone cares about.
Yeah. But in the studio with me, that's weird to say studio, in my little den area.
No,
Miles
you
is-
gotta play it up.
Hey guys.
Yeah, watch the microphone, Miles.
That's the mic screen thing.
And absent from last week,
But here once again.
Hi guys, it's me. I'm Keith.
Keith, the other Keith.
You said that so like I don't know, like reserved. You're like, hey, I'm Keith.
He is
Hey, guys.
key.
How you doing?
So, we're going to chat around a little bit in the opening.
Yeah.
Justin, give us a little intro to what we're getting ready to do.
Okay, so what we're going to be talking about on this podcast in the meat and potato section is about religious conversion and what that means. What does the word, conversion mean? What does it mean to be converted to a religion, and not just Christianity, but to other religions as well? I'm a religious studies student, so this is really, really exciting to me. And we're also going to be talking about kind of the relationship between converting others and specifically in Christianity as well. So it should be a really good night tonight. I'm really excited for it.
Oh, I am too, and we thank Scholar especially for this topic because it was something he brought up a couple weeks ago. And so we're gonna we'll get into that too a little bit later. But up front, we're going to I don't know. We go a few episodes, and I feel like sometimes we kind of need to reinforce who we are at Forgetting Walls, what we're doing, why
Yeah,
we're doing.
because we have new listeners all the time and come in and they just kind of start at whatever episode they come in at, and they haven't gone back and listened to kind of what we're about, or they have and are just still confused, which I totally get.
Very confusing.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, and I think because some of the topics we choose and the things that we say, sometimes gets away from the main core, but there's so many different facets to what we're doing, and even though we don't fine tune one, it's because we're reaching two totally different groups of people or trying to speak to two totally different groups of people. Sometimes the overall vision or message kind of gets convoluted in maybe one episode, where
Right.
like last week we talked about Christian colleges and kids going to Christian colleges and what's that look like, but how does that boil over into people who aren't Christians or who has no or the nuns? They're the nuns who have no religious affiliation.
Right.
What is them? And that's one of the things that Dustin and us and Skylar are all going to try to reinforce a little bit tonight from different points of view. So I want to start. I want to start with first saying this. There's many times we say, well, this is not a Christian podcast in the sense of the word Christian, the way we described it. I think episode 13 or 15, Justin.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we talked about the word and the word itself, but understand that Justin and myself are Christians, and
Yes.
we see the world, or we have a worldview that is Christian or a biblical worldview. Whereas, like when we had Jack on, Jack has a worldview from a atheist agnostic perspective. Skylar has a perspective that is a Buddhist worldview. So we all come into it differently for one common goal, which is to have relationships with everybody, learning to love everybody equally and the same. And even though we're different and we may have different ideas on what faith looks like and what maybe the afterlife looks like, or even what the origin of life looks like, we need to get through all that to have this relationship. Now, of course, people, I am a little biased because we have a Christian, or I have a Christian worldview. That means I want people to know what I understand or know what I believe, and because the way I believe that way, the way I show my love is to tell them about what I believe. Like, I would agree that, Skylar, you tell me, is that how you would look at it from your point of view? Like, you feel that you have this path, this understanding, this faith, and you want people to know it because you love them and you feel that this is very important to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's a big explanation, I guess, really, because you pretty much just laid it out.
Yeah.
When I tell people about what I do and what I practice and what I believe, it's because I'm sharing a piece of myself with that person, and it's because I want to share that with them.
Right.
So that in a nutshell, and one of the big things that I'm starting to notice for me, Justin, is that the more I listen to our podcast and the more we talk about things, I really want people, and I know we're speaking to a lot of people who go to church and are Christians, and we're trying to show them, hey, there's different ways we need to act, but I really want the populace, the other people, the nuns and those in other faith religions to see Christianity differently, to see that it's not what media has publicized, it's not the Jesus camp version of, it's not that. It's something that's more real. It's a legit thing, and it's not really wonky, and it is mystical to a point. I mean, we can all say that through the supernatural aspect, but just to look at a person and to judge them in such a critical way that we've received over the years, that's the other part I want people to see.
Right.
We are real people, just like everybody else. And maybe if we can break through some of those negative stereotypes that we've gained over the past, few centuries, multiple centuries, it's a platform that we can reach other people, and they can see that. They can see, look, I'm the fat guy sitting here, and the Vader shirt, looking like Scott Reed with the gray. I'm just Justin.
That touch of gray.
Yeah.
It's a gray. So, do you want to add anything to that portion before we move into some questions we may want to answer up front?
No, I think you covered a good amount of it. It's just that we all come from different, religious and kind of ideological backgrounds, but we all want to have relations with one another, and we're all human at the fundamental level, and be able to, talk to one another and be friends, even though we have these disagreements. What are you cringing at, Keith?
I'm not.
Okay. But I think at a fundamental level, that we can all talk and have these conversations, even though like four out of the 5 of us here are Christian, and we come from a Christian background, and of course, us 4 are going to advocate, we think Christianity is right. We still want to open, I guess, dialogue for like mutual respect and be able to listen to one another. So, I mean, you covered most of it, so I'm just reiterating.
No, that's fine. It's fine. So you were chatting with somebody last week, and
Yeah.
And they had a couple of questions. I think the one question I would like to kind of tag up front, because I think it's an important question, not just for the people who watch us and listen to us, but for us and ourselves, because we've had some issues trying to kind of explain what this is.
Yeah.
I even remember the first episode, Justin. We labeled it ministry and Batman as Moses. I mean,
Yeah.
So it was that, but the question was asked, and anybody wants to chime in how they feel about it, but it says, do you feel like Forgetting Walls, and I'm ad-libbing a little bit, but do you feel Forgetting Walls is more like a ministry, or is it more about opening the dialogue?
Right. So for me personally, like the way I answer that question, because at the time I literally, answered the question to her. I think it depends on who you ask in here, because I think in many ways we could potentially be a ministry. It depends on how you're defining ministry, because especially with plans of what we want to do in the future and kind of expanding and all that stuff, it could very well look from the outside like a ministry. But I think a lot of what we do and a lot of what we're going for is opening the dialogue. And in many ways, personally, I think that the dialogue has already been opened in a lot of ways. I mean, we're not the first to do this. There are interfaith organizations everywhere. There are different things like that. However, I think that what we are kind of doing is continuing that dialogue, and kind of we're facilitating both sides of the wall, because that's kind of where we began. So
that's good. Yeah, it's for me, like you said, opening the dialogue in of itself is something. I think we mentioned it last week or not last week, but 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the Bad Christian podcast.
Yeah.
We're not the pioneers in this by no means.
Absolutely not.
And I'm not riding the coattails of anybody else, I don't believe, as well, because I think we're trying to do something a little bit differently. I mean, if you look at other people who are kind of in the same type of conversation, everybody's doing it a little bit differently.
Right.
With different conversations, with different techniques and attitudes towards it. The ministry is such a touchy word, so to speak, because ministry has been, I would guess say in Western culture, in our culture, especially in America, ministry is always applied to something that's churchy, that's Protestant, Catholic too, but it's applied to those things, and it's always something that evolves from a church-like type setting. It's not something that is organic out in life, where I think that, for me, I don't know about you, Justin, but I think that word's
right.
It's a little misused.
Yeah,
a little.
I mean, I can see what you're saying, but on the other hand, you have like certain bands, like Christian bands, who say that this band is a ministry.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. And that's not necessarily coming out of the church, but rather this band, kind of a collection of Christians, are saying, yeah, this band is our ministry and stuff like that, which I don't know how I feel about that either. So there's two sides to that.
Well, do they just mean that it's like a platform where they can sort of preach.
Yeah, where they can preach the gospel and
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you, Justin. About I mean, I believe a band can be a ministry. I believe it can minister to people.
right.
But I think that it comes down to, is this really a ministry, or is it a place for you to play music and to make money?
Right.
There's the toss for me a little bit. I'm not saying that you can't minister to people, but is the sole purpose to be a ministry?
I could, but I feel like the difference between, like, I feel like what makes a ministry doesn't mean that it came from a church or something with a church background, but that its purpose is to see salvation. Like, I feel like, I mean, I wasn't here when you and Justin were planning this or starting this, but I feel like the difference between this, and I could be wrong, this and a ministry would be that I wouldn't think that your end goal is, okay, we want to see Skylar saved.
That's always my end goal.
That's always the end goal. What are you talking about? We would love if you came over to our side.
It isn't. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's the purpose. I think that the purpose is to try and just have relationships with people who are outside of that.
Right, but that goes back to the word. If ministry and minister is not, I don't think it's something that's solely owned by a Christian label. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is it to minister to somebody?
Oh, so you're saying even from outside the?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I mean, what I'm saying is that ministry and to minister has been giving this, in our culture, has been given this context of Christian, Protestant, Catholic, type of stigma to it, where, like you said, what is it? Is it, and most people, like, I don't know if in the Muslim mosque and things like that they have ministries, like ministry outreach. I don't know if that's what they call them, like we do in the church.
Right.
Keith, go ahead, Keith.
This is a definition, a dictionary definition.
Right.
I skipped through the ones that were specifically about a minister or about the clergy or about the church, and the first one that comes up that's not directly related to that is a person or thing through which something is accomplished. Synonyms are agency and instrumentality.
So technically, if we have a goal and we want to accomplish it, then technically we could be a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, like when you think about the government of the United Kingdom, how we have departments, they have ministries.
Yeah, they have ministries.
It's something that they want to get something accomplished, so they set up this group to accomplish it.
They have the
Ministry of Magic.
What was that, Scholar? I didn't catch that.
Oh no, I said then you have the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a Dumbledore. So I mean, like you, Justin, I think opening the dialogue is a big thing, but I do believe we have a goal to accomplish. I believe, in a sense, that if we look at ourselves as like a ministry project, that what we're doing is opening a dialogue. But I think I want to say, instead of just opening dialogue, but maybe opening eyes, maybe opening the viewpoint a little bit wider, having people open their minds some and see the bigger picture of things instead of their small conglomerate picture of, this is who we are in our little church and this is what we want to do, but they can't see anything outside of that because, their world is so small, that place is so small. So in order for them to open it, you gotta let them experience and hear other things.
Right.
That's a big thing. So, anyways, there were a couple of more things that she had mentioned. This is the part where I hate dead space.
Yep. This is the part that you usually cut out.
Yep, these are the parts that I cut out. She asked, talking about the mix of our listeners, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably most of our listeners are Christian.
Yeah.
Because most of the people who listen are probably the people who know us.
Right. Exactly. We're starting as a pretty grassroots movement, so it's spreading by word of mouth mostly, and so most people who listen to it are people who are friends and who we are connected to. So I think for the most part, our listeners are probably Christian.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what brand of Christian, because I think even within Christianity we probably have a good mix though.
Yeah, I agree. Probably most of our non-Christian listeners come from Scholar.
I will contest to that. I'll agree. I'll agree with that.
So one of the other things that that I think you're forgetting, Walt, that of course, one of the things is trying to get rid of the negative stereotype that we get as Christians. The other side of it too is to kind of get rid of the negative stereotype that all other people have from a Christian perspective, which gives Christians the negative perspective. Everybody else is not scary. Peyton Jones, the Church Planning Podcast, actually, which was kind of crazy. This week's episode was about church planning for those who have no religious affiliations, the nuns. And I tweeted at him, I tweeted a few things at him, and I said, hey, everything you talked about, it's like, the religious or the church has this almost like this war type mentality against the nuns, and they don't know how to deal with them, and what do we do with them, and they're growing, and this, that, and the other, and how do we deal with that? And he was looking at it from really a church planning perspective, but I asked him the question, I was like, but what does that look like for the normal person in church? It sounds like a good show to me, and he's like, I'm down, so we're going to look forward to doing a show about that together.
Awesome.
Yeah, you got to pitch what you can pitch, right?
Oh, yeah.
But that was my thing, too, is that, well, let's do this. Think about it like this. What do you think the majority affiliation is, let's just say in America? Anybody want to take a wild guess?
In America?
Yeah.
What do you mean by affiliation?
Like faith affiliations. Let's just
Catholic. Catholic is the biggest in America.
Catholic's the biggest in America.
Yes.
All right. What do you think? What do you think comes behind that?
Christianity,
Protestant.
Protestant.
Christianity, not Catholic, because they're not Christians. What are we talking about?
Is Catholicism really number one? Is that
I'm kidding. Yeah. At court, yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
right.
yeah. I think the last statistics that I read, which were a couple of years ago, was that when you're looking, Christianity in of itself is the largest faith affiliation in the States, but by denomination, so to speak, Catholicism is number one, and the Southern Baptists are running right behind them at number two.
Okay, so do they consider Catholicism a denomination or a sect?
It depends on what person you're talking to. Some think some believe a denomination, some believe it's a different sect, like Protestant and
I consider it to be, because there's multiple forms of Catholicism too.
Yeah.
So I would say that the equal to Catholicism would be Protestantism.
Right.
And then you have denominations.
Yeah, under each one of those.
Yeah.
And however you want to look at it, religious studies major.
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
But they all fall under the banner of Christianity.
Tyler, do you agree with that?
Yes. Well, he got the Justin stamp of approval, so I can't argue with it.
I like that.
And then everything else falls into place. So this nun population.
And by the way, when we say nun, we are meaning N-O-N-E, not N-U-N.
Yeah, not N-U-N, because that would go back to the Catholics. We're talking about the N-O-N-Es, like Justin said, that has no religious affiliation.
Right.
I think the latest poll says they're anywhere from 8 to 12% or 8 to 10% of the population that are nuns in America. So they're small. Now, of course, what are we at population right now in America? 200 million? I don't know.
More than that. I think it's between 3 and 4.
3 and 400 million?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you take 1% of that, that's still 3 million people, and, at 10%, that's 30 million. So it's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
But in the sense of people, but it's a small percentage. But that number is growing. I think they said it's actually grown consistently over years, which we see. I heard that somebody just said, I just think people are being more honest about what they believe instead of just going along with the flow. So that made me more to it than that. But but that's the group that I think we, from a Christian perspective, from the Christian perspective, is the ones that I'm really reaching out to, because those are the ones who I think get mistreated the most by the church, because they don't know how to deal with them. What do you mean you don't believe? What do you mean, they don't know how to, when they come up against somebody who's using, logic and reason and science to live their life, without having some sort of belief in this supernatural faith. Because, when you're dealing with a Muslim, or you're dealing with, somebody who is in Judaism, or, even pagans and stuff, you all have some sort of connection with them because it's all supernatural in some aspect. But when you're dealing with somebody with no supernatural connection or faith connection, bless you.
Thank you.
It really sets you back. So then you have to kind of figure out, how do I deal with this person? And they almost, I think a lot of times for me, and answer in if you won't, I think a lot of people take offense to it and become very defensive against those people who have that perspective and mindset. And
I totally agree. Because at least for us in the Bible Belt South, we kind of live right in there, and I think a lot of people aren't familiar or didn't really grow up with a lot of people who claim to be atheists or claim to be nothing, and so we don't know really how to respond to that. We've never a lot of people have grown up not really having the experience to be able to respond to people who say that. So I think a lot of it is a defense mechanism against that sort of thing.
Right. I'll agree with you. I grew up a nun as well, because I didn't have any affiliation. There was not believing in anything, except for Santa Claus. But there was nothing like that. So I don't know. It's strange to I don't know. For me, it's strange. But anyways, to kind of sum up all that, guys and girls at Forgetting Walls, when it comes down to it, our main goal is to reach out and to accept everyone in and love them. I know that's really harsh for some people in the church to say that we're going to accept these people. Go ahead, Justin.
No, yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to say one thing about that.
Right.
I think where we're coming from is we look at the Bible and we look at the New Testament and we look what Jesus did. Jesus didn't demand that the people he ministered to clean up or act a certain way or dress a certain way or be a certain way. He came to them right where they were. He came to them right in the middle of whatever situation they were in. We always reference the woman at the well, but there are plenty other examples of where Jesus just comes and meets people right where they are. In the middle of their mess, in the middle of whatever they're going through. So I think we're doing a lot of the same thing. We're meeting people where they are, loving them exactly where they are, so that's all I had to say about that.
Yeah. So like I was saying, we just want everybody to kind of live this life together, whether you live it as a Christian or as a Buddhist or as a nun or whatever. And I know that's getting confusing for people because I saw it on the chat. Or N-O-N-E-S, but but whatever life you're living, that's fine with me. Honestly, you're not upsetting the balance of my life because you're living your life a different way.
Right.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a minute. Well, maybe. Let me pause. I gotta pause it for a second. If you're watching the live stream, you're gonna hate me because it's gonna flip back and forth, but I can't control it myself and do everything else. I'm
okay.
Place. It's not good for it's not good for me to do it like this right now. So
okay.
So everybody's just gonna have to feel a little sick. It's okay. All right.
So just be sure when you talk, actually say more than just like one line or one sentence.
Yeah. Like that. I don't think there's ever a point that I just say one line or.
Nope. No.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
But somebody's got to carry the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Justin, I give you a lot of credit. You have gained a lot of composure over the past 7 or 8 episodes, so it's good.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm learning the art of podcasting.
I'm still. So we're going to go back in. I'm going to unpause it, and we'll go back into talking.
Okay.
So we're recording again.
Okay.
Yeah, so at some point I'll edit all that out and fix it. But yeah, so we get back to the point of, just loving people the way they are, just like I want people to love me, because I know it's not easy to love me. Between the people that are sitting here with us right now on this show, they know how hard it is to love me.
Oh yeah, definitely. We know how hard it is.
Shut up, Justin.
I struggle every week.
Yeah, what? I'll take care of the editing, and hey, Justin, can I get a title and summary? What are you talking about?
Hey, you struggled. The 1 week I wasn't here and I couldn't do it, you struggled to write that description.
Oh, no, I didn't. I just started writing what I wanted to, and was like, ha, 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 Justin can't edit this.
Oh, yeah, you tell the podcast one story, and then you tell me another. All right, I see how it is.
I'm a liar, dude. Just face it.
We still love you.
All right, guys, we'll be back in a minute. All right, another band requested by Miles. Great choice, Miles. Great choice, Miles. Great choice. Great choice. Hands Like Houses. That was 100. I'm gonna have to start listening to them. I like put me onto a band I hadn't heard before. But yeah, it's time for that meat and potatoes, man.
Meat and potatoes section.
What everyone's here for.
It's what we want. It's what we need. It's just how it is. Nobody can stop us. Anyway, so we're going to talk about religious conversions tonight.
Yes.
It was brought up by Scholar. Scott, let's do this. Scholar, why don't you enlighten the people in podcast land? Basically, why you wanted to talk about this, because give you the floor a little bit.
Hello, everybody in podcast land. So I talked to Keith about wanting to do this topic of conversion because I know that I don't know. I think of it. It's kind of weird. It's a weird thing to me. It's a little different in different groups of people, and it would be really fun to, I guess, talk about it so everyone can find out just how it goes. So I guess I'll talk about my side of it first.
Yeah,
If you guys are down.
that would be great. I would like.
Yeah, cool. So when we talk to somebody about Buddhism, we use a term and it's called shakabuku. And when we shakabuku an individual, we tell them it's okay. So let me start at the beginning. I'm going to backtrack a few steps.
All right, go for it.
It's not an actual. I mean, it kind of is a process of conversion, but we don't really use that word. We use the word shakabuku, and what shakabuku is, it's a process of us sort of instilling the knowledge of our teachings, and we pretty much walk alongside this individual, and so there's a side of friendship to it, there's a side of mentorship to it, and there's a side of growing together. It's looked at a selfless act to sort of transcend the selfishness of, hey, this religion is for me. I'm in this religion, so I can become, at peace. It's like I'm in this religion to help you, fulfill whatever you need to fulfill, sort of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't really, and it's not like so when we shakabuku someone, it's not a at that moment sort of renounce everything you have come to know and switch over to here are your set of rules, and a lot of people still hang on to um, what they have known or learned previously, um, because and if you think about it, it's kind of a weird thing to maybe have a strong set of beliefs and then out of nowhere just like switch them, I guess, in a way. So it's more of like when you shakabuku an individual, it's sort of like implanting the seed, and it's sort of like grows, and if they you know if they're down, then they're down, and if not, then we have other lifetimes.
The more he talks about Buddhism, the more I'm like, there's some good stuff going on there. Give me a couple lifetimes to get it right,
There you go.
Let me do this real quick. Since we're talking about religious conversion, it can be defined, and let's just be very across the board. Keith, did you pull it up?
Yeah, I pulled up a definition too.
What is yours?
I have a definition as well. So
Justin. Mine says an experience associated with the definite and decisive adoption of a religion.
Okay.
Okay. I like that we said that at the exact same time. But yeah, okay, I can see that. I see where they're coming from with that definition. Although I have a kind of different definition than what that is.
That was the dictionary. That was, I think, Merriam.
Undisputable.
Gotcha.
Webster's?
That's what the English language says. So
Because to me, and this is the way like I define religion, which it could be totally wrong, but the way that I sort of define religion is the acceptance of like conversion. If you convert to a religion, what that means is that you accept a set of ideological principles, and therefore by doing that you become a part of a community, of a specific type of community. That to me is what like converting to another religion is.
Okay. I was losing track, but the one thing that I noticed in the definition that pulled up when I was looking at it too was, it talked about the adoption of one set of beliefs identified with one group, religious group, and the exclusion of everything else. So when you accept one, you exclude all others in that conversion.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think about that, Justin? Do you think that that?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, now, let's look at it from like 3 or 4 different points of view.
Okay.
Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Let's use Buddhism too, and atheism. Okay.
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 The first three, the Christianity, Judaism, Islam. I mean, when you convert to them, you're pretty much by default excluding all others because
Right.
they have a very specific theology that says that there's really kind of one path. There is one belief.
Right. Now, Scholar, on your say that again.
Shakabuku.
Shakabuku. I love it.
There it is. It's fun to say, right?
You got the best words, dude.
That would be a good band name.
Oh, show.
That sounds like some sort of Mortal Kombat combo. You Shakabuku someone, or like Dragon Ball or something.
Hadouken!
Shakabuku!
I like a 70s disco singer.
Good. Yeah.
But let me ask you
Yeah.
this. Even though you really didn't like spell out like there's this whole conversion process, but the way we're talking about religious conversion, so as a Buddhist, if you're going to accept the ideas and the beliefs that are identified with Buddhism, and especially the way that you believe, would you say that in doing that, what you've done, that puts you against or to exclude all other religions in a sense that it doesn't line up at all?
No.
Okay.
No, because and it's just a personal thing, because, and I guess we won't go too big into it on this episode, but um outside of Buddhism, I believe in other sort of like spirits and other
Right.
unworldly powers and stuff like that, but that's a lot of personal stuff. Um, it's not to say uh, it's not, being in Buddhism is not to say that there are other things that I can't believe. Um, so there are teachings um, in Buddhism that I believe, but that's not 100% everything that I believe is
Okay.
going on, in the universe.
Now, though we don't have anybody to represent the atheist faction on the show tonight, but do you believe that, and we're not going to call being an atheist a religious conversion, but I guess in a sense, I mean, you're abandoning all other beliefs and you're believing one way.
Yeah.
Right.
Definition, you don't believe in a deity.
Yeah.
So I guess you would abandon all other. Well, I mean, I guess depending on how you view Buddhism, you could be a Buddhist and an atheist at the same time. Because you're not believing in a true theology. You are believing in sort of a worldview and sort of a view of life and existence, but you're not really holding to a set of theological beliefs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to remember, Christianity and Buddhism, they answer different questions entirely.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, I strongly believe that if you use the word conversion, then you are 100% renouncing, well, every other sort of set of beliefs and ideologies in it, and fully accepting this other set of beliefs and ideologies. I feel like using the word conversion or converting is sort of like an absolute sort of thing.
Sort of an absolute term.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
like all or nothing sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that you have to be all or nothing to what you believe?
Depends on what you believe.
It depends. There are certain things that I feel are 100% commanding of all 100% aspect of it. But if someone wants to worship trees, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
you could say that a lot of different religions, like, I guess inside that religion it might require it, but whether or not, like, I could say, yeah, I'm Christian, but I don't like everything that they have to offer, and I do like some of the stuff in, like, Buddhism, so I'm going to adopt some of those.
Yeah,
So
because that gets hairy. I think for me, where it gets hairy is the renouncing all other ideas. Because to me, like, I mean, I'm Christian. I'm pretty strongly Christian, and I find a lot of things in Buddhism pretty strongly. I mean, come on. But
scale of 1 to 10.
yeah, probably like
Yeah.
I don't know. But I find a lot of things in Buddhism like really, really helpful and really beneficial, and I would say true to a certain degree. Not that it's exclusionary from Christianity, but I
Right.
think there are truths in other religions, whether or not they are the truth. That's a whole other thing, which I don't believe. But I think that to exclude like everything from every other religion, you almost can't do that because there are some commonalities between Christianity and other religions. And I'm not saying that those commonalities, like, oh, all the religions are the same. No, as a religious studies major, no, they're not all the same. But there are major differences. However, I think that when you exclude every other thing, it's almost contradictory because you're also excluding things in your own religion as well. So I think truth can be found, like, it doesn't matter like where you find it.
Right, but what we're saying, I think, is that if you convert to a religion, let's say you convert
Yes.
to becoming a Christian, you would be excluding the other religion in itself, not necessarily all aspects, but
Right.
the main thing that makes that religion what it is. I mean, if you are truly accepting the doctrines of Christianity,
Yeah.
I don't see how you could not exclude Judaism, or I
Yeah.
don't see how you could not exclude Islam.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Keith on this one because, well, maybe what we should do is maybe take a couple of the religions and just look at what, converting means.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's a good
Right.
idea.
because
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Scholar explained to us kind of what conversion and or maybe the process or what it's like to convert to Buddhism, but for Christianity, where I learned today, like the Islam to convert to Islam was pretty simple too.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Why are you pulling that to the table?
Because it was cracking.
Keep it okay. I get that now. Okay.
Okay, so picking back
Why are
up.
you hiding it? It's tea.
I know, I was like picking back up. But like Christianity, and I think in not any religion, because of course the way Scholar described it, it was a little bit different than how I see us coming to Christianity. But like in Islam though, and Christianity, and I think even Judaism, there is, like, because those are the three truly monotheistic type of religions.
Right. The Abrahamic faiths.
Yeah, they are specifically dealt in submission.
Yeah.
So the first part, I mean, in all three of them, converting means there is this level, it should be the full level of submission to that belief, to that deity.
Right.
Even though the Godhead in all three of those are technically, which is the same God, there's this concept of submission. So I don't see how you cannot, when you're submitting to that one and putting yourself under full, I hate to say control, but you're becoming under that deity in full
Right.
submission. You're saying that it is you and only you, God, and nothing else.
Right.
Now, not to say that we exclude maybe points and teachings from elsewhere in the world, but the one thing we have to follow is that one, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Islam, or whether it's Christianity, you follow that set of teachings, and then you follow that set of teachings because you believe that is the right set of teachings.
Right.
That's the part of conversion that I see there.
Yeah, and those are so specific too. Like if you're a Christian, at least in modern Christianity, you believe specifically that Jesus is God. To be a Jew, to be Jewish, you by default do not believe that Jesus is God.
Right.
Islam, you by default do not believe Jesus is God. So I don't think you can. There's some overlap in some beliefs.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Christianity came out of Judaism, and so did Islam. So there are definitely going to be some similarities, but I don't think they can really sit on top of each other completely.
Oh, no, and I totally agree with that, which is why I said that, of course, there are differences with them, but yeah. So I totally get what you guys are saying.
Yeah, and when you're talking about Christian conversion, I want to dispel the notion that some people might have that there's this mystical mythical thing that's happening in this conversion process where there's a lot of things that are spiritually meant to us. I mean, we're literally just saying that we're putting all our faith and belief in this Jesus, and that we believe these things, and that we feel that there is this supernatural changing in our lives, which gives us this sense of morality or whatever it is that we want to say, But it's not like and I don't want to poke fun at any other religion or any cult or anything like that. But we're not going down to the front and drawing some blood and chanting something and expecting this power presence to move us. It's basically in this religious conversion, we're making a choice to believe a certain
exactly.
way.
Yeah, there's a misconception about Christianity, even within Christianity, that there is a specific prayer or experience that you have to get salvation, what we'll call it.
Right.
But really, that's not really taught in the Bible. It's taught that by grace, through your faith, you gain salvation through what we call justification, which I think we've defined on the show before, right? And that is your salvation, that justification that you receive but through your faith.
Yeah,
Right.
It's not about a specific prayer or ritual or anything like that.
Yeah, and like we was talking about Islam, they say, well, it's so easy to convert to Islam. It's like the easiest thing. You just have to simply say with conviction, and that's the part.
The conviction.
The conviction. You have to, with your conviction, with everything that you believe that Islam is true, and you pray their prayer, which I'm not going to say in Arabic, but it just basically means there is no true God but Allah. And
it's the 5 pillars of Islam.
yeah, and Muhammad is the messenger prophet of God.
Right.
That just basically saying that, and that is your conversion process. Which, of course, we know in Islam there's other things you have to continually do.
Right.
Where and in Judaism is the same thing. You can I don't just in conversion process Judaism. I know you talked about it was like a really difficult process, but
oh yeah. So, like, one of the things to convert to Judaism is if you're male, you have to be circumcised.
yeah, and
That can be difficult.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But it's really, really difficult to convert to Judaism because of a lot of history in the past.
Right.
There's been, Christians in, like, say, the early church who went into Jewish communities and, quote-unquote, converted to Judaism, but they were still Christian. And they basically converted everyone within the community to Christianity. So a lot of Jewish leaders, like, it made it. They made it a lot harder to convert to Judaism.
So basically, to protect their own, groups of people in Judaism, they said, well, we're going to have to beef up the process of conversion, which sounds like, instead of being able to follow a God wholeheartedly, we're going to put stipulations on you following our God. So man's putting stipulations on man to follow a God, which, I mean, I can see that. I can get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alex brings up a good point. He asks, what about baptism? It feels like sort of a ritual that Christianity requires.
Yeah.
I can talk about that a little bit.
And that's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Because in Judaism, there's this sort of ritual, like, kind of cleansing, which is called a mikvah, which is required for conversion. But that's also interesting because there's some branches of Christianity who say that, yes, you have to be baptized in order to be, like, considered a Christian. Whereas there's others who are like, no, it's just a symbol. It's just like a proclamation of faith.
Yeah, and I'm going to, Keith, you want to answer? I was
just going to say, in mainline Protestant Christianity, which I think we would all identify ourselves with, except for Skylar, obviously, we consider baptism to be a more of a symbolic thing that comes after your initial point of salvation, your justification moment to whatever, your faith moment.
I kind of go to the point that, when you look at what's required for salvation, Paul speaks about in Romans 10, but when I think about baptism, and I'm going to go on record and just say, and I'm going to agree with Keith, that baptism is not a requirement of salvation, because you can pick out points in the Bible like, well, the thief or the criminal on the cross, if it was required for salvation, then therefore he would have needed to be pulled off the cross before he died and be baptized. So therefore we know that. But what I really apply to baptism is when I think about the Ethiopian, the Philip who meets the Ethiopian in the desert, right? And he's like, he tells him all this stuff, and he's like, so where can I be baptized? He wasn't saved because he got baptized, but he felt such a connection with his belief in Christ at that moment, because he really believed that who he was, or what he was reading and what Philip was telling him, was real, and he connected with Jesus and God, that he's like, I'm not just proving it, but this is what I want to follow in the same footsteps. And that's, we talked a couple weeks ago when Scholar asked this question, should we strive to be, is it a thing to be Christ-like? Should we strive to be like Christ? That's the part of being like Christ. You're following him in those footsteps. You're trying to kind of live that same life. And Jesus kind of started, or Jesus did start his ministry upon that baptism.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It wasn't a right to be in the fold of God or to be a Christian. It was just this start of your life. Like I am telling everybody else, I'm showing everybody else that I really believe what I believe, and it's not just BS.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But there are people out there who do feel, I'm sure, that Christianity would be a requirement, or not, that baptism would be a requirement.
Yes.
No,
Right.
I agree, but there's also people in Christianity to believe that you have to speak in tongues to be saved. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, there we go.
I mean,
That's my group in.
yeah,
Just for the record.
but that's the part of Christianity that, well, that's the thing about people around Christianity that miss the point. Anything that you add to the saving grace of Jesus in Christianity for the conversion process nullifies, because that's still, you have to go and do something. I have to go and do this. That removes everything that is Christianity away from it. I think we talked about it last week. We talked about I think we talk about it a lot because we are
Quite a bit.
yeah.
With all that being said, though, I would still like to point out that, I mean, at least for me, and I'm assuming for you guys also, that even though baptism isn't a requirement for salvation, is that it's still really important, and that if you're in the New Testament, that's something that we're supposed to do as an act of growing.
I agree, but I don't want to place the importance. I don't want to place so much importance on it that it overshadows the process of, this is salvation.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
It's a command, but it's not a part of the salvation process.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I just wanted to make that clear.
What I call it is it's the first step in discipleship. If you're a Christian and you say that you're a Christian and you want to follow these beliefs, then this is what you do. If you're a Muslim and you follow those beliefs, this is what you do. If you're Jewish or you're converting to Judaism and you do that, then there's things you follow to live that lifestyle. If you're an atheist, I'm sorry, but there's things that you do in that lifestyle that which I don't know what that really looks like other than just living a life however you want, and you don't commit to these things, but you just live. You live by logic, you live by reason, and whatever. Same for a scholar. He's a Buddhist, so he believes in his faith. So there are certain things he does that are important to him. Like he talked about the Gohangzang, right?
Gohangzang, yeah.
Yeah. Did I say that right?
Nice.
Yeah, you like that?
Gohangzang. Yeah, dude. Nice. Trust me. That's quite impressive.
But that there's something that is connected him to to going to chant and do those things in that house where that is represented. That those are the things he does as a Buddhist. So baptism is a thing you do as a Christian, but it's not something you do to be a Christian.
Right.
So
That's a very good way to put it.
Cool. I like it.
Good. So let me ask this question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So is it necessary? Is it necessary? I mean, we've kind of hit it at certain points, but is it necessary for you to have this religious conversion to recognize or be identified in that religion?
Which definition are we using for conversion? Because I think that would change my answer one way or the other.
Yeah.
Let's kind of just let's get a hodgepodge of it.
Okay.
Okay. Justin, you said refresh my memory. I remember it was community.
My definition? Yeah. So I say that conversion is identifying with a certain set of ideological beliefs in order to become a part of a particular community.
Okay. And then I got this one that says, is the adoption of a set of beliefs identify one particular religious denomination to the exclusion of others. Thus, religious conversion would describe the abandoning of adherence to one denomination and affiliating with another.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that, I would say it depends on the religion, but mostly yes.
Mostly yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, I guess I would say the difference between whether or not conversion would be necessary is if you're planning on having that be a life decision that you're doing, or if it's something that you're just kind of, I guess, kind of like blowing in the wind with. You're just like, well, I'll go ahead and try this out. If I'm just going to like try out Buddhism, I wouldn't think that I'd have to convert to it to be even accepted by that community. I think they'd still be like, oh yeah, you're welcome to come in here and stuff, but without conversion, I wouldn't necessarily be part of them. So I wouldn't get all of that relationship, if that makes sense.
Right.
So a situation which you're talking about, conversion would be sort of like a um, uh, sort of like a self viewpoint on if you're at the point of identifying with this group of people, then you have converted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not, to me, it's not necessary. Um, I mean, it all just depends on how you yourself see and relate to the people around you, I guess.
Yeah, and I think for me where it falls is I would say that it's not necessarily necessary to
What's
complicate
that?
things. So for example, like if I were to start a church, which God forbid I do, but if I were to start a church,
Don't say that. Don't say that.
um, but so if I were to start a church, I'd I wouldn't require someone to be a Christian in order to come and be a part of the church. Like I don't think they have to convert in order to participate and be involved in things that are going on in the church and the life of the church. However, if you look at it on a metaphysical level, on the spiritual, like the church, like the body of believers, of course you have to convert to be a part of that because it's definitionally the body of believers and like the children of God. So that does require necessitate a sort of conversion. But to be a part of that specific community of believers, I don't think it's necessary.
So wait, are you saying that like to actually like sign that piece of paper or whatever to be accepted as a member of that congregation, you don't have
No,
to?
not necessarily a member of the congregation, but to be involved in the church.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that because I was kind of confused on
Yeah.
it, but I thought I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. No. I think the whole concept of being a member and being involved is a very use the word convoluted thing today.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason you have members in a church, the reason you have membership is based on the church government.
Right.
It's a government of the church. That's the only reason you have it. It's based on how your bylaws are set up and stuff and how you're run as an organization. That
Right.
has nothing to do with what goes on inside those four walls. Now, of course, like Justin's saying, as the universal church, as the church is the body of believers that Christ is the head of. Now, yeah, there's a different story. But for you to, like we talked about a few episodes ago, like, why can't I have somebody who has no faith in God to play the keyboards on stage in the worship band? I mean, they're not doing anything spiritually leading. They're not heading anything. They're playing a keyboard. So what's the problem with that? They can be involved, and why not be involved? Because if we as Christians believe that the only way to find this place of salvation or to have that religious conversion is to experience God, why not put them in places that they're going to experience this God we believe in? I mean, that's what I think. I mean, you can just...
I'm sorry that people are so jealous of me. But I can't help it that I'm popular.
I mean, I know that's a silly soundbite, but if you think about that movie Mean Girls, I mean, those clicks, the way those clicks set out is almost what we see in religion today. If you break it down to Christianity, what we see in denominations today, and it's all based on certain rules and how you look and the way you do things,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy, but I can find gospel correlations in almost every movie I watch.
Because I'm a white pea.
That's right. To be a youth pastor, that's what you have to do. You have to be able to watch every movie and correlate it to the gospel.
There you go.
Relate to your youth.
Yeah, exactly.
So I totally agree with that point. And yeah, to me, like the church, I think in terms of church bodies, a lot of people or a lot of churches have kind of done a disservice by kind of not letting. Because my philosophy, I know I've said this before, but I mean I will reiterate. I think that one of the philosophies of church should be that their doors are always open. Not only open so that everyone can come in, because I think the church should be a refuge for people to come in. but also for people to go out. So I think the doors should always be open, and you shouldn't have to require people to believe a certain set of things in order for them to be accepted in the church community and to be loved.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to try to think about this idea of religious conversion, and does it, is it necessary? We believe it's necessary because there's so many. I mean, we only talk about 4, maybe 5 religions on a show at most, but I mean, in the world in general, it's absolutely ridiculous how many different forms of religion there really is.
Tell me about
And you should know, Justin, because
it.
Studies them all.
But I'm gonna ask a question back to one of our watchers, Alex. He's talking about, can anyone speak for the loss of religion? If somebody can help clarify that for me, because I'm not the brightest person on the planet. But
what was it?
Can anyone speak for the loss of religion?
I think that he's referring to like someone who was a Christian and then
I wanted to get to that.
out of that.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that in a minute once we answered a couple more questions. But if that's what he means, then yeah, I definitely want to speak to that.
Okay, do you want to go ahead with that one?
No, I just want to. Well,
Okay.
maybe. Well, no, I guess we can tie it into this too. We're talking about, are conversions true or false?
Okay.
When somebody convert, let's just use Christianity because
Okay.
for most of it's, and then we'll get Skylar to answer too from his point of view. But for most of us, we always look at people who come to salvation, and most Christians, and I'm not going to lie to you, most people always have this little judgmental factor. Did they really, did they really accept Christ? Did they really become a Christian? Is it true? Is it is it something that's real? So, or are they just doing it because everybody else is doing it? Just a fact.
Right.
Is it true or is it false?
Right.
Can I don't know. Go
And
ahead.
I think with that, I mean, of course, like you said, we have people who are like, did they really get saved, or are they just doing it because their friends are doing it? I think it's impossible for us to really tell. I mean, of course, from the Christian perspective, I'm going to throw this out there just so a lot of people don't get mad, but I think that there's evidence of someone being a Christian, such as fruit of the Spirit, stuff like that, patience, gentleness, kindness, like all those, or fruit of the Spirit, singular. But I think it's almost impossible to tell whether someone is genuine or not in a lot of cases, because a lot of what happens in the conversion process is internal, and it's something you can't see. It's something spiritual. So I think, I mean, of course, the evidence they show and what they do is an indicator, but again, I think that's a very tricky thing to try to tackle.
Yeah, and that could also be different even among Christians based on, I think it's the Calvinistic view of
Oh, geez.
preservation of the saints.
Yeah, perseverance of the saints.
Perseverance. That's what I thought, and then I was like, no, that's not it. But anyways, because like I know specifically the Wesleyan Church believes that you can lose your salvation,
Right.
and so it doesn't matter as much to them whether or not it was a true or false conversion. I would assume they would think that every single one is true, and then if you screw up, you just lose it, and then you got to work to get it back. Or however, not necessarily work to get it back, because I believe they still think it's through Jesus.
Yeah, to be fair to the Wesleyans and the rest of the more Arminian groups, I don't think they would say that you screw up, you lose it. They would say that if you lose faith, if you cease your faith in Jesus Christ, that would be when your salvation would cease.
Just some of my
Right.
friends believe that every time you sin, you lose your salvation.
And that's ridiculous.
Are they Wesleyans?
Some of them are Wesleyan, some of them are Pentecostals.
Really? Okay, see, that sounds a little bit more
Yeah.
in
Well,
line with the beliefs of some of the more charismatic.
Wesleyans. I mean, you got to think about Wesleyans. I know most of the Wesleyans I know have that same type of Arminian view.
Really? Well, see, I don't think that's. It is an Arminian view, but it's not
But
distinct.
definitely not the view that every time you sin, you lose your salvation.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that. The Wesleyan Church comes from Methodism, which
Yeah.
comes from the teaching
Right.
specifically of John Wesley.
Right, exactly.
And John Wesley did not believe that. Just pointing that out.
Yeah.
He did not believe that.
Most of what I know from Wesleyan just came from, I think I only have like 3 Wesleyan friends,
Oh.
and they may not necessarily know all of, and there might even just be different, I guess. Every church in the Wesleyan Church would also
Right.
differently.
That's probably true.
Right.
Not all Baptists.
But back to the topic, like, it's a difficult. I still think it's a very difficult thing to try to judge whether someone's salvation is legitimate or not.
And I think, well, just dealing with that subject alone, I don't tend to judge it. I don't want to judge it.
All right.
I don't think it's
Right.
I don't think it's appropriate for me to judge it, because I don't think it's appropriate for anybody else to judge it, because and I don't care what religion or non-religion you are. What you know and what you believe is between you and that system, you and that God, or whatever it is. I mean, you're the only one that can truly know that. I mean, at the end of the day, when you lay your head down at night, it's you. You know, it's just you. You know, I can't, can I look at Scholar and go, well, is he really a Buddhist? You know, does he really believe? I mean, because he's always hanging out with these Christian guys, and he really likes a lot of the same stuff. I mean, if I didn't really know anything about Buddhism, or if I was a different sect or denomination of Buddhism, I could probably make certain judgments about Scholar, but or I can say, well, I believe Scholar is a Buddhist because he's an Asian. That is so bad to say, but no, I had to get a laugh in there somewhere, but how can I assess that of him? I mean, that would be totally wrong.
I mean, and even on the same sense, we could all die and go to heaven, and you might not be there, Keith. And
you could absolutely be right about that.
Yeah, like, shock to me, being that you've played.
From a Christian perspective, it wouldn't be a shock to you at all because you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
But you're right. I mean, and maybe that's something we can add right here or interject into this point, is that nobody sitting here, the 5 of us who are talking, none of us has any real intelligence to the real grand scheme of things. Nobody knows what's real and what's not real on a
transcendental, metaphysical, absolute way.
Yeah.
Nobody has all the answers. Nobody knows complete 100%.
That's
for
just
sure.
That's what you think. That's true, though.
Yeah. But we're going to interject whatever we think we believe or what we feel. I mean, none of us sitting here. I mean, Justin, intellectual, or he's intelligent, and Keith, I think everybody sitting here has some form of intelligence. I mean, at least we. I'm probably the dumbest guy here. It's okay. I don't mind being the dumbest guy. It's less pressure. But I just think that trying to apply your opinion to somebody on whether they truly believe what they say they believe. Now, I guess that's where the certain things that you do after that profession of faith, so to speak, that's Christianese, but to profess that faith you believe in, there's things that happens afterwards. But I mean, you can still play those off. You can still go through the motions and act like you're a part of that.
It's really not hard to fake it. I mean, it's honestly not.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree that there are certain groups inside certain faiths that are very hard to fake it, because you have to do certain things to a certain level that shows your. I mean, if you think about any extremist group in any religion, what they do, you're really putting yourself out there on it. I mean, if let's just say if you would call it a group of extremists in Christianity, which I don't believe they are, Westboro Baptist Church really shows their true colors, and they don't hide it at all. And to do what they do, you have to be committed and convicted to what you believe, even though it's wrong.
Or brainwashed, one of the two.
I'll go with that.
I mean, that would.
Are they still functional?
Oh yeah.
Because I know that their pastor died, and so I wasn't sure.
They're still going. They were in the news this past week because they got something wrong on one of their signs, I think. I don't remember exact news
That's
story.
Crazy.
But I mean, they were like, we're really wrong about it. Oh, I know what it was. They were protesting in an African country. Was it South Africa? And they used the wrong flag on their sign. They used the Irish flag on their
Oh,
sign.
the Irish flag. I think I saw that. Yeah.
To get in the news for.
Nice.
That's the sad state of the news media.
Hope we didn't just ruin a juicy dip there.
Oh,
You trying to impinge on what I'm trying to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. Alex was making a point back to the loss. The statement that he made was that he says something about it. Maybe it's more of never accepting a religious belief system. I like to. I know I don't want to make it too much outside the point of religious conversion, but I think that's something going to the loss of religion. Like, you know, with somebody convert. Let's just say you convert from. You go from Christianity to atheism, so to speak, and
All right.
you're losing that religion of, you know.
Losing my religion.
I was going to play that
R.E.M.
tonight,
Yeah, it's a good
literally.
song.
Was gonna-
Oh man, that's awesome.
but you know, but thinking about that though, you know, what is, and I'm kind of going with him on it, that like, and it's only because I'm biased. Now people understand I'm speaking from a biased perspective on this, from
Well,
Christian.
we all are.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, when it comes to Christianity, I'm really speaking bias when it comes to this topic for Christians. That,
Right.
you know, because, and maybe this is the reformed part of me, that, you know, if you know Christ, you know God. I mean, you really know Him. It's like, how can you not want to continue in that? I mean, how can you want to go to something other than Christ, really knowing? But then again, I may be just a fool as well, and think that's, you know, that's just my very biased point of view. But I feel like in that sense that it was that they really never had that true salvation, and that's just a Christian worldview for me. It may be a foolish thought and a foolish comment, but I really believe that, you know, you can fake it, like we was talking about. You can go through the motions and sit in the pews and pick up your Bible and do your prayers and stuff, but never really commit and submit to this way of life and to Christ. So if you really don't get everything, you really don't know who He is, and come to that place of real salvation, then losing your religion, you're not really losing it. You're just stepping away from something that you were just doing.
I'm kind of a good example of this. Before I had met Keith, I was proclaiming to be a Christian, basically because my brother became a Christian in 3rd grade. Not trying to go into too many of the details, but long story short, by the time I was in high school, I was a proclaiming Christian that was convincing people that the Bible was false.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's how Justin and I met. And so
Oh, yeah.
I have different debates on whatever, and it was really friendly. We did that to pass time. But
Oh yeah, in Spanish.
yeah. I met Keith when I started going to this when I started going to a church, and like I was big, like I was proclaiming to be a Christian, but I was really big into like Big Bang Theory, evolution, all that stuff. And talked to Keith, and he showed me the flaws in all of my theories, and then also showed me why biblically it would make more logical sense in that. And so after a few, actually probably the first night he backhanded all of my beliefs, and no one had ever done that.
That's Keith for you.
Yeah. So that night I left and had become like a full-blown, well, I don't know if I could say full-blown atheist, because I don't know if this necessarily is part of atheism, but I was like, well, I don't know what is real anymore. I mean, I kind of believed in God, but He was always more of a back thing, and it was just kind of like I was told God was real.
Right.
But at this point, I didn't even believe science or anything either. So
You just didn't believe anything.
I was like, if I don't see it, it isn't real. So that whole like cat in a box, is it dead or alive? I'm like, there's just no cat.
Yeah.
There's a cat or not.
Yeah. And so I was just like completely blown away and had to like start rebuilding all of my beliefs from that, and then I ended up becoming a Christian. And I guess I don't know if that necessarily counts, because it wasn't like I wasn't going to church or anything like that. Like I was raised Catholic, but by the time I was 13, we quit going to church, and I was all for that because I hated going to church. But yeah, so I don't know if that counts because even though I said that I was, anyone would know I wasn't.
Well, let's make another sort of clarification from a Christian standpoint about Christianity that I don't think we've really hit yet. There's a difference between believing in Christianity and believing in the belief system of Christianity
Yeah.
and putting true faith in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So we say that, and I know a few of us here, I know at least 3 of us here, believe that once you put that faith in Jesus Christ, you cannot lose your salvation.
Agreed.
But just because you believe in Christianity in itself, that doesn't mean you even have that salvation.
It's not belief in Jesus, but it's belief in your belief about Jesus.
Right.
It's not really about him, which I don't know, Skylar. Again, I'm not the smartest person, but when it comes to, I know we talked when we had you on the episode the first time, and we talked about Buddhism, that you really didn't ascribe to a deity in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to your beliefs in Buddhism, and I guess London doesn't like Buddhism because she keeps barking. But when you're dealing with the belief system of Buddhism, is it just the system you're believing in, or is it the full enlightenment of what it means to you and what it's going to do to you, and the afterlife system of or the system of karma playing into your afterlife, and how you're trying to transcend through these lives to something better and better and better?
So what was the question?
I did goof that one up.
That's good.
Yeah, I may have to pause and edit all that. All right, so like in Christianity, all right,
Mhm.
you have to have belief in Jesus to be a Christian. Like Keith was saying, not the belief in the belief, but in him alone. As a Buddhist, what is it that you have to have belief in? What is it? Is it the system? Is it this enlightenment? Is it the afterlife process? Is there one thing that you've got to put your belief in that recognizes you in that faith as a Buddhist?
Yes. I don't really know, if there was a point where you could draw the line and still be considered a Buddhist. I guess I'm not really sure of what that point would be. If there would be a point, because I'm kind of in it, the whole thing, so...
But there's this commitment to... I don't know. It's hard for me. It's the one religion right now I had the hardest time with. Describe it to me. I'm like, it's like, it's not like hedonism where it's like all belief in me and just that humanistic lifestyle. But there's this real path of self-enlightenment, this path of betterment. But what is it that you say? I believe in this, and
yeah,
and
it's not really clear cut, black and white.
That's why I guess
as a religion. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, man.
Well, I was just gonna say, I guess for me, I don't really view it as a religion. It's like,
well, I know we keep using it in the religious sense, but like you said, the more I hear about it, can't we all be Buddhist?
Right, yeah.
I guess like Justin was saying earlier when he was talking about the conversion and abandoning everything else, but he held to these certain Buddhist beliefs. It's just so non-religious,
And I guess
why do you say that it's not religious?
Well, it's because I don't know. I guess because it doesn't identify to, I don't know.
It seems more like a philosophy, and I guess we're coming from a very theist
Yeah,
standpoint.
I think
Yeah,
Where,
from a very Western point of view.
yeah, I think that may be
well,
it.
but there's deities even in a lot of Eastern religions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism is not one of them.
In old school Buddhism, though, there are spirits and stuff like that. Not necessarily deities,
Right.
but there are supernatural elements.
Are they exclusive to Buddhism, or are they alongside Buddhism?
A lot of people, like in Japan, they had beliefs of Shintoism and Buddhism in a sort of
Right.
intertwined, but it was a different type of Buddhism. But a lot of times back in the day, that went hand in hand. And what Shintoism is pretty much everything has a god attached to it. So like, water, air, everything has a spirit in it, sort of thing. Um,
Yeah.
so
And
yeah, go ahead.
now I think the closest thing that we're going to get to a hardcore answer to Keith's question, like, is there something that you ascribe to, like a belief that you go to, right? That's kind of what we're going to?
Yeah.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scholar, but from what I've studied, it's aren't there like the refuges, the things that you chant, like you take refuge in the Buddha, you take refuge in the Dhamma and the Sangha, and all those things?
Maybe you're thinking of a different sect.
Okay, yeah, I'm probably thinking
Yeah.
of a different sect of Buddhism. Um, but yeah, those are some things like chants and reflection on the nature of the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
And
But we do have chants.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. That sort of, they resonate. It resonates our soul with our surroundings, and we just, so we can be on the same frequency, I guess, kind of resonation.
right.
So I didn't mean to get off in that
No, it's
tangent.
okay.
It's just well my thing is that we talk a lot about Christianity because there's four of us on here who we ascribe to Christianity, but I want to get people to understand, Scholar's on the show with us. This is what he believes. These are the areas that, these are things that kind of correlate, or how can we see it as Christians, because it's very different,
Very much so.
between the two. It's not, I mean, like I said, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, there's so many correlations that play between the three of them. It's a little bit easier to understand, to deal with, to talk about. But when you start getting into other areas, especially like Eastern philosophy and Eastern religions, there's a lot of loss there for understanding and knowledge. And I know the questions sound stupid, and sometimes they don't sound like, intelligible. But I can't figure out how to ask the question without using my mind from a Christian's perspective, So I'm trying to get these answers so I can understand it, and I want other people to understand it,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the more we understand between each other, the better it is for us to come together and work together, which, honestly, I don't care what you believe, whatever you believe, because I'm still going to work beside you and love you, but for others, it's a difficult process to overcome.
Right.
For them to see those things and go, oh, I kind of see what he's talking about. It helps a little bit.
Yeah.
and I may just pause this, or I'm not pause it, but edit this out. But it seems like Alan, who is Alex's dad, is on the chat lines too, or on in our comment box. But he made, and I want to talk about this real quick. He made this comment. It says, if you can't open the box, shake it and see if the cat is in there and alive. Right?
There you go.
But it says, just like religion, how do you feel deeply when you shake it yourself? And I thought it was good because it kind of goes back to the whole point of true and false conversion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll speak right to Alan. I have had to do that before in Christianity, because I think as a Christian in my life, the one thing I've had to do is shake that box many, many times, because I really needed to see if this is what I really believed. Is this the truth I'm living by? Is this the truth I'm setting my life by? And every time I've had to shake that box, at the end of the day, no matter how much I wanted to turn my back away from Christianity, I had to point myself right back at it, because there's no way I could shake the deepest understanding of what happened throughout my life that points me right back to this God, this Jesus that I've put everything into. And you know, at one time in my life when I was in the church working, it was, am I doing it? Am I a Christian and this youth pastor and doing all these things just because I'm getting paid? Well, I said, I'm quitting. Let's see if that works. Well, that set me straight, and then I go here and do. So everything points me back to Christianity. I don't know if I don't know if it's if that's kind of the same correlation what Alan was talking about, but I kind of feel that way. I've had to stare deeply at a box I couldn't really open and see the truth, to see what's really in there, and I've had to shake it and shake it and shake it and shake it to and hey, if a Christian doesn't say he has some doubts at times and he questions these things at times, you know, I wonder if he really truly looks at the deep, perplexed truth that we think we believe, and go after it.
Yeah, it's very natural to have doubts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult, but man, that I'm loving this. I love the fact that they brought that in, because that helped bring that out. Now, I want to push this along a little bit, so we don't go too long in time. I want to get to the part, because like I said earlier in the show, me and Justin talked about earlier in the show, we talked about, you know, pointing things out to Christians and pointing things out to those who aren't Christians about what we believe, and kind of erasing some of the stigmas and stereotypes. So we're probably going to talk a lot to Christians right now, with those who are Christians kind of listening so they can see what's going on. We asked a couple of questions Monday night that we wanted to cover, and I think this may have been the real basis to all of it.
Okay.
Do I need to convert people to have relationships with them as a Christian? Or probably better put, should Christians always be looking to convert others to be friends with them or to have relationships with them? Does everybody kind of understand that questioning?
Well, not exactly.
Should you always be looking to have just a normal relationship with somebody? Is your main point to have that relationship with them, to convert them? Is it necessary for you to convert that person to have a relationship with them?
And see, there's almost like a catch-22 there.
Yeah,
because on one hand, you have the Great Commission, where, you know, for Christians, you know, to go and make disciples of all nations, and to go and to spread the word of Christ. However, on the other hand, if your sole reason for making friends with a person is just so you can convert them, then I don't know if that's a legitimate basis for friendship. If just so you can convert them to your own set of ideological beliefs and religious beliefs, I don't know if that's the basis for friendship.
Yeah, especially when that doesn't end up happening. Does that
exactly? Then what is your purpose of being that person's friend?
I give them a year. If they don't become a Christian, then I'm just going to ditch them.
Right, exactly. I don't think that's really showing love and compassion and understanding toward that other person and getting invested in who they are.
Yeah. I think I know where Keith's coming from, too. I'll ask Scholar in a second what he thinks, but I think I know where you're coming from, because at the heart of being a Christian, like, our sole mission is to reach out to others.
Yeah.
But it's now follow me on this. Now, I think it was episode 15 when we all got together, or I don't know, I get all of them mixed up, but we got together and we talked about discipleship. Now let's be clear, as Christians, our main goal is not to convert people. Our main goal is to make disciples. I mean, that's the process. That's Matthew 22. He says, you know, go and make disciples, right? So in that process, now conversion is a process to, you know Christ, have salvation, all those things. But I think we talked about the process of discipleship for any Christian should start before conversion.
The conversion, right.
So whether they convert or not is between them and God. But our sole purpose is to teach them about Christ through our experience, through what we know, because we can't teach them anything outside of that. We can show them Scripture, but it all comes from the experience that we have. So we're showing them and telling them our story. Now, Scholar is a prime example. Okay, I didn't know Scholar was a Buddhist when I first met him. I didn't ask him. Religious affiliation doesn't mean crap when you first meet somebody. It should mean nothing, honestly. We're people. The first thing we need to do is speak, converse. A few times meeting them, hey, you know, we really connected. We had this immediate bond as human beings having a relationship. Hey, come over to the house, Scholar, hang out with us. He comes over, man, we hang out like all night. I mean, we just sit and chat. Still don't know Scholar's a Buddhist, don't know if he's a Christian, don't know what he is, but being who I am as a Christian, at some point, I always talk about the Bible and Jesus, what I believe, because I believe somebody's belief system, their faith, is important. So in order to have a relationship with people, you speak about your faith. You speak about those things because you feel that if this person is going to truly know me and love me, they should know who I really am. Right. So I talk about the Bible and how I believe about Christianity. He asked me some questions, and at the end of the night, I didn't say, hey, you want to get saved, Scholar? You know, it's your turn. You know, let's all be like Jesus.
That's the only time you didn't ask me.
But at the end of the night, I was like, you know, because we were going to go to church the next day, which, you know, we don't do that very often, but we do go. And I was like, you want to go with us? And I was like, or do you go to a church somewhere? I didn't know. I always ask, you know, do you go to church anywhere? He was like, I really don't go anywhere. I'm a Buddhist. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, all right.
I was like,
You got to hang out more with us. You know? My thing was, my sole purpose in meeting him wasn't trying to convert him to Christianity so I could hang out with him.
Right.
My sole purpose was just hanging out with him. And hopefully through my experience, he would experience Christ, and maybe he chooses, maybe he doesn't.
Right.
But I don't think we can disciple properly unless we first start that relationship. So that's just my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, what exactly was the question again? How was it phrased?
Do you need to convert people to have relationships? Should Christians always be looking to convert others to be friends with them?
To address the questions, I would say to the first one, no. To the second one, kind of yes.
Okay.
But I don't think that it's like you're saying, conversion's not the ultimate goal, and conversion's not the end of the relationship, and lack of conversion is also not the end of the relationship.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. And Alex makes the same point. You should care about the conversion because you are a Christian.
Right.
But it shouldn't be the requirement.
Right. It's
you should want to share Jesus and what he's done for you out of joy and out of like what you've experienced, and be like, wow, this is what's happened in my life. Let me share this with you. This is an important part of who I am as a person. So to get to know me better, here's a huge part of who I am. But it's not like it's not out of obligation. It's out of joy and it overflows out of who we are.
It is, but I mean, it is a commission. It is a commandment. I mean, It's not necessarily out of obligation, but there is a certain sense of obligation to it. Well, if we're being honest, I think.
But what? All right, think about what it says. Okay, you got to go, right? So that's one aspect. You got to teach, right? And then baptize. That's what it says in the Bible, right? So there's an order. There's a specific order. So anybody who's studied in theology knows that list means something in the Bible the way they write it. So first we've got to go. So that's going. So like, and then we teach them. You know, we're teaching. Now baptism only comes through conversion. You have to be converted to baptize. Now, as a Christian, we're already on that. We're committed to that mission that we've been commissioned to.
I mean, yeah.
So it's not like my thing is, and I know where you're at on it. I'm just trying to make the point to everybody that if you don't have the happy ever after ending of them converting, you say that you can't be friends with them. I understand that we want the goal to see them to know Jesus, but that's because that's the love we have, that we have faith in on Jesus. I just feel like we get to that point where it's like, but if I don't do this, then I'm not really living up to the commission that he gave me. So can I really be their friends? It's just that double-edged sword that I think we play on.
Oh, you go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I would also. The first thing that I kind of thought about when you were saying that was that the Great Commission doesn't say, go and make disciples of every single person that you ever meet. Like, I was just kind of thinking that.
That's a good point.
I feel like there's some relationships that I'll have, such as I go to the grocery store and I see someone I check out of the register, and the person behind the register is nice to me. So I kind of start becoming I'm friendly with them, but I'm not going to be like, okay, so I'm going to be friendly with them for the sake of making them a Christian. But
Right.
I would like to, I would also say that it's an important goal or an important part of me that whenever I do, um, whenever I have communication with someone or whenever I'm hanging out with them, that I am, I guess, reflecting Christ, and
Mhm.
that is an important part of it. But I don't think that you necessarily have to focus on, okay, so I'm meeting this person, so I'm going to intentionally be their friend for the sake of the Great Commission. But as I'm friends with them, the Great Commission starts to come into play later.
Yeah, I'll just add this because we're going to run along, but to make sure we get some final points from everybody on this. I'll just add this: my best friend, 20 plus years, you know, who I would consider close.
Not Darth Vader, his friend who gave him the
Yeah,
shirt.
the friend who gave me. Everybody knows. But he wasn't a Christian. His dad's pastor, sort of. He's been around me as long as I have been a Christian. He knew when I got saved. You know, he was around, hunt together, fish together, everything together. I mean, literally, sit on the couch, watch plenty of Duke basketball games, love it. Go to Duke football games together, love it. But
You're the only two people there.
no, but you know, we've always had that great camaraderie between each other. Whenever he asked me a question, and I felt like it was a chance for me to impart my spiritual wisdom that I had from Christianity, I would say it, but I wouldn't pressure him. And I was like, you know, from my point of view, the way I see it, this is how I see it, you know, and always presented it to him. Never was my end goal to say, you know, man, you got to be saved. You know, just come. If you don't get saved, we can't hang out no longer.
Right. And I don't think that's biblical.
Yeah, and then you know, but he did eventually. He did get saved, but it wasn't because you know, I may had some role to play in it where I was around him and tried to be who I was supposed to be, but it wasn't me. It was just, you know, I was just living my life as a Christian that, like I think Miles said, the Great Commission became a part of that. It played out in that. It wasn't my end goal with this premeditated thought that if I don't convert to him, then I can't be around him because it's going to ruin me as a Christian. So
Right.
Do you think, though, that as a Christian there is a point where you should be intentional in presenting the gospel?
I think you can present the gospel to anyone once, twice, 3 times. I mean, I kind of presented to Skylar like that night, you know, about who Jesus is and this, that, and the other about salvation and all those things. But if he doesn't accept it,
right? I don't think you do. I don't think that's biblical to say that you should terminate friendship.
Well, not only that,
but I do think it's biblical that you should.
Oh no, and I agree with you that as a Christian we do that, but it shouldn't be your goal every time you're around them. It shouldn't be the first goal. It should be, I mean, there should be a point where you do it that's natural. Like we talked about last week, Aaron was talking about last week, you know, and most people know the gospel. They just, you know, when you find out, but how do you know those things? You have to build relationship with them. You have to become an intimate part of their life and to know them. And, you know, sometimes it works out where you just, you give them the gospel. Sometimes it works out to where you learn the person and realize they know all about Jesus. They just don't want nothing to do with it.
And also with that, there's a bunch of different. I mean, you say what is the gospel, and I don't read very many books, but at the internship, my pastor required me to read this book before I came on the internship, and it was What is the Gospel? And I came into that thinking, oh, that's going to be a very simple question. It's just like this, and this. And he was, well, this is what you probably think the gospel is, and here's what 50 other people think the gospel is, and they're all completely different examples. And so you're like, you said, do you show people the gospel at a certain stage?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that saying? Is that saying, oh, Jesus died for your sins, or is that just saying Jesus loves you, or is that just saying like?
Well, that's in that.
I think a true biblical definition of the gospel is that Jesus is God who came to earth as man, died, was resurrected, and through that can offer man salvation, not through what man can do.
And that we're already sinners.
Exactly.
Well,
You
but-
should
but-
include
And
that.
that we're spending eternity with him, not just getting out of
But
hell.
here's my point in all that, though. Every person may not understand the gospel, and every person may have a different interpretation of the gospel, which I don't think every person does. But that's not the point. The point is, in this conversation especially, is do I need to do that, to have that relationship with him? And you're right. Different presentations of the gospel, which we can get into many lengthy conversations about, that's neither here nor there. My point, especially for tonight, is that is it absolutely necessary that you convert? Not, I mean, seeking to convert people, yeah, that's one thing that we go out, but is it the most necessary thing, and to have a relationship with that person to do that?
Yeah. No, and what all I was trying to say was that I don't think that in most cases I would get to a point in the relationship where I'm like, okay, so here is you're a sinner, and then all this stuff to just one of my friends. But I would, over time, reveal smaller aspects of that to them just throughout my life, where I could do something and be like, oh man, I really, really give praise to God for doing this. And they're like, praise God, who is that? And so just through that, it's showing a smaller part of the gospel without having to be so jumping on top of them.
Well, and I guess go ahead and close this subject up to move on. Scholar, Justin, Keith, Miles, any final thoughts to this whole religious conversion thing?
I think for me that one of the most important thing is that religious conversion doesn't come at the point of a sword. And I know we've said that a bunch of times. It comes through genuine relationship and showing people why you believe what you believe, and and from the Christian perspective, what Christ has done for you, and letting the love of Christ shine through you. That's it.
And a large important part of it that I feel is it's definitely a self-acceptance sort of thing and self-viewpoint sort of thing. How you see it personally.
Say that again. We lost you.
Oh, okay. A really important thing that I think is that self-identifying with religion. It's like it's a personal viewpoint on how you sort of see your set of views as well.
Yes. And any from this side, y'all. I'm just going to add a point that I know Justin just made it, but Alan made it as well on our live stream feed. Basically just reiterating, convergence or conversion in of itself, it comes from the heart. And if it doesn't come from the heart, it doesn't mean anything. And
Right.
A lot of people don't see it. A lot of people don't understand it. And that's always going to be an issue. If you do not give everything you have from your heart to that conversion, to that religion, that faith, I don't care what it is, people, whether it's Muslim, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhist, Hinduism, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't come from the heart, and if it isn't yours by your own choice, it's never going to mean anything. It's not going to be real. So I hope somebody learns something from that. We'll be right back in a moment because we're definitely running long tonight.
Sweet victory, 'cause I got sweet victory, yeah. You see me living, I know you see me living. You can't tell on these CDs, but bro, I'm knee deep in it. I'm waiting in my weakness, he may be deep in it. I be lying through my teeth to say I don't resent it. Even as I write these lines, I'm close to tears. Body ain't been working right for 7 years. Miss me with that, keep your chin up, try to smile. Bro, I'm 26, I should feel better by a mile. Keep all your anecdotes and cute quotes. I'll bet some cliches, the true hopes. I go Billboards where my crown was. I'll be weak, but I'm alive from the dust until dawn, yeah. I'll survive, 'cause I got sweet victory. Nobody can take it from me. Sweet victory. Cause I got sweet victory. Yeah. Toast to the king. Cheers to the city. Feeling good. We gon' make it to the finish.
I don't care what you say. I love that track, dude. If you haven't heard it, it's Trip Lee, and it's Sweet Victory. And I don't care if you're a Christian or not, dude. That track is balling. There's a line in it. It says, "It's like I see your crowns," and he goes, "But I see your crosses." I was like, "Oh." It just the vibe of, you know, where everybody thinks because you're a Christian, you know, or this fact like you're supposed to be up here on this high cloud, but he's like, man, I'm hurting. I should be different. I should be better. I shouldn't have all these pains, but yet I do, and this is real. This is what real life's like. It's not some mystical fairy tale that a lot of Christians try to portray. It's real life. You're gonna hurt. You're gonna like hurt painfully. You're gonna hurt, you know, physically or emotionally, and these things are real in life. And just because you get Jesus doesn't mean everything gets better and everything's woohoo. You know, this is still real life. You know, so I love that track. And I was like, man, what do I want to play for the second time around? I was like, that works. But man, great conversation earlier, guys. I'm just, but you know, when it gets down to brass tacks, you know, and you feel like you're dying out a little bit. And you want things to go a little bit better, and you feel a little lonely.
Oh gosh, here it comes.
It comes that time when you got to.
Oh, yeah. It's time to get juicy with Justin's Juicy Bits.
I will never get tired of that.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much for that.
You are welcome. Anytime, sir.
Yeah, that was excellent.
All right.
Justin, I got to get you going, though. But before you get the first juicy bit, you're not right.
Bueller. Bueller.
All right, moving on. We have...
I'm going to call you podcast for forgetting it.
All right, Justin, what you got?
Yeah. So it's gonna be hard to I guess outdo last week. So if you haven't listened to last week, if nothing else, listen to the very end of it because I think we break Keith. But and it was so great. But so this one, I'm gonna go pretty fast because I know we're going over time. And so I sent the link to you this one, and this one was just. I just thought it was really cool, just because of what I grew up, and I'm a '90s kid, so I grew up with Pokemon, and so if anyone else is listening, there's apparently Etsy, which they're basically like the very very artsy sort of website that have a lot of like designs and a lot of like different really cool stuff. So there's an Etsy shop that has crystal Pokeballs.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
And so this person has basically made these Pokeballs out of crystal, and you can laser carve like different designs into them, and they've made like Pokemon inside the Pokeballs. And to me, that's just really cool because the inner nerd in me like loves those things. And I think they sold out really, really quickly. According to this article that I have, they basically sold out pretty much immediately. And so in the meantime, while they're making more, they've listed the price at $10,000 a piece to prevent people from placing new orders.
$100,000. $99,999.
Oh yeah, never mind. $100,000. Yeah.
Look.
Gosh, those look really cool.
How much were they originally when they were actually selling them?
I have no idea.
Mm.
They are cool looking.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But man, you've got to have. I guess because I'm from a different era. Now, if these were like Voltron figures or.
And
like,
see, and that's just the sort of generational gap there is there.
That'd be cool if they were like Dragon Balls made like that.
Which I'm sure they do make those.
They have like small. I don't know if they have them in crystal, but they have like little Dragon Balls that have the stars in them and everything.
Yeah,
They're
Sterling's
cool.
got some, but I don't think they're glass. They're like more plastic. But that's interesting. That's I just think do you know if anybody's like tried to purchase them at the $99,000 mark?
I doubt.
I actually wouldn't be surprised.
People. Like,
Yeah.
there was that one app that came out that's I'm a Millionaire,
Mm-hmm.
and it cost $1 million, and all it does is when you start up your phone, it says I'm a millionaire, and it has like 5, and that's it.
Well, I
And
doubt they would.
sold 10 of them.
I doubt
8 of
they
them
would.
send it back.
I
They
doubt they
got
would.
their money back. But
I doubt they would turn it away though. I mean, if someone bought it for that price, they would give him a
I
ball.
wonder if they
Like, okay, have two.
That's great. That is.
So shout out to my childhood. So
You Pokemon people. All I gotta say is I will never forget
Pokemon.
that night
You'll
at
never
camp.
forget what?
The night
Oh gosh!
Tyler and Robbie were singing the Pokemon theme song all
And
night.
everyone joined in, and you were like, "Shut up!"
I was like, I'll burn every one of your tents down.
Out in the middle of the woods. That was so great.
Speaking
All right.
of middle of the woods.
All right, moving on to the next one. I found this article, and because this terrified me, because I actually have a story. So today I was driving my car, and a bee actually flew into my car because I have my windows down because it feels great outside, and a bee flew into my car, and I was pretty much just driving with it forever. And bees freak me out because I'm a little bit allergic to them, and I've been stung a lot of times. And so I eventually let it out. I pulled over at the Mormon church and let it out there. But so this news article really spoke to me today. So according to this article, a man wears a suit made of 1.1 million bees in order to set a world record.
Yeah.
And that's 240 pounds of bees. So beekeeper Gao Binguo, I know I butchered that last name. Yeah, whatever. 55 of East China's Shandong province succeeded in Monday his effort to set a world record for wearing the heaviest coat of bees. Assistants placed several queen bees on his body in order to extract worker bees before starting to just dump boxes of bees on his feet. There are about 10,000 bees in a kilogram, meaning he nearly had 1.1 million bees on his body. That is my nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like having all those bees buzzing around on you.
But like,
you sent the article, and it says he was wearing only his underwear.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And during the stunt, he smoked.
He smoked a cigarette to keep the bees away from his lips.
I just thought he did it to make him look cool. Just makes him look cool. Like, look at me, I'm smoking a cigarette. Look how tough I am. I am the manliest of all men at this moment in the world.
Jeez, that is. And one thing that I was thinking of that I don't know if like you guys have considered, but like how like hot must have that been? Because you think of like all the kinetic energy of the wings flapping like together, all concentrated on one body. How hot must have he like warmed up? Because I've read articles before like how bees like can kill other insects by just like swarming it and then heating it up and it roasts from the inside, which is really cool.
Or is it a mega fan?
That's.
But yeah, so that's terrifying to me.
Oh yeah, it said he was stung more than 2,000 times, and temperatures around his body reportedly reach 140 degrees Fahrenheit.
Jeez.
There it
and
is.
how did he not like fall over the chair break or something? Because 240 pounds on top of what he probably already weighed, that's a lot. That's a big guy.
Oh yeah.
That probably over 350 at least, probably close to 400.
Yeah, definitely.
Huh, interesting. I like that one. I like it because it's the manly man stuff. I like that. Like, if you're going to do something, do it for real. Don't
Yeah,
do
go
it.
hard or go home. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Do it for real.
Oh, there it is. Temperatures around his body reached 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Yes.
I got to give a shout out. My boy Brent's watching tonight. So what's next, Justin?
All right, final one. And I actually, while we were recording the podcast, I saw that Kim posted this article, but it was already queued up for tonight, so I thought that was really cool. Anyway, so this is called Food Fight. Sabrina Davis stabbed a woman and barbecue argument over last rib.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Gotta get them barbecue ribs.
So Sabrina A. Davis, 45, was arrested Sunday night after allegedly stabbing another woman who complained that Davis had taken the last rib. Witnesses told police that the victim was the daughter of the woman throwing the party. The victim allegedly confronted Davis about taking so much food from the house. Davis allegedly responded by plunging a serving fork into the woman's eye, which caused at least 2 small lacerations on the left eye, according to the Indianapolis Star.
Wait,
The victim's eyes were, quote, swollen and bloodshot.
just 2 small lacerations.
Yeah. The suspect told police that she acted in self-defense because the hostess was waving a knife in her face. So.
You know, I always thought it'd be a man that would be jealous over the rib since he gave one up, but.
Well, man, that's hardcore ribs, man. I mean, you gotta have some love for it.
You know, this is what I've noticed. Women, we talk about how men love food. No,
Be careful.
did you hear about the woman in the McDonald's, or I think it was McDonald's, right? She came up to McDonald's, they gave her a burger and didn't have bacon on. When she came back to get it redone and they gave it to her again without bacon on it, she shot into the McDonald's drive-thru. I mean, that's some crazy stuff.
Some Grand Theft Auto
It's
stuff
like-
right there.
It's like, where's my bacon at, homie? Pow, 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 pow. Oh my gosh, Justin, you never cease to amaze me with the stuff you bring.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I do my best.
Oh, ribs. I get
All
stuck.
right. Yeah, so that's intense barbecue. I thought we were serious about barbecue here in North Carolina.
Nah, bro.
That's not barbecue. Those are ribs. There's a difference.
Okay, that's true.
Well, Justin, thank you for
All
the.
right. That's all I got. Thank you.
Well, I guess in saying all that, man, we appreciate everybody sitting with us for a couple hours. This podcast is a little bit longer than normal.
Oh, yeah.
We had a lot of discussion tonight about some good topics. What we're going to ask you to do is, if you listen to us live or watch this live, hey, go over to the website, share your story if you want. I mean, we would love to know your story. Hit us up on Facebook, catch us on Twitter, leave us something, chat with us, do whatever you want. Go over to the website. We're getting ready to redesign it this weekend, so bear with us.
Oh, yeah.
But go over to the podcast page and leave a comment on the podcast what you think about once it comes out Monday. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, the audio side, hey, interact with us. Give us a comment. Go to iTunes, leave us a rating and review. That would be like the greatest. I mean, you want to give us like an early birthday present, go over to iTunes, rate us. Hey, 5 stars only, people.
But really, rating on iTunes, that's one of the ways that this podcast can get out and that we can start to rise and get, like, I was going to say recognition, but that's not the word I'm looking for. But start to get the word out about the podcast and get people listening and stuff like that. And we appreciate all you guys have done for us so far.
Absolutely. And in saying all that, Justin, it's awesome. We'll see you this weekend.
Yeah.
Skylar, dude, I know it went around you a lot tonight, but dude, I miss you terribly. I wish you would come back.
I miss you guys too.
It's tough losing somebody that you just met, you know.
Yeah, right.
But like I said last week, he's not dead.
No, he's not dead.
To him.
I'm not dead. I'm still alive. You can see me right now.
Skylar's not.
Let's saying all that. I'm Keith.
I'm Justin.
I'm Skylar.
I'm Miles.
I'm Keith.
And we want to remind you that people are not projects. They're people just like you and me. So love them like you love yourself. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Forgetting Walls podcast. If you're subscribing to us on iTunes, leave us a rating to help us spread the word about this podcast. Remember, the only way this works is if you share your story. So be sure to visit the website and leave us a comment at forgettingwalls.com, or find us on Twitter at forgettingwalls and facebook.com/forgettingwalls.
Peace!
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Sweet.
That's a wrap.
The audio is done. The audio is done. Thank everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate. I wish we could interact more. It's hard to gauge the interaction that we do with everybody.
Yeah.
It is, and I really want to interact more, but sometimes it's like it goes in different places. Maybe one podcast will just go. This is a viewing subject matter night. We're going to have to wait a couple weeks until we get a good group of people who can interact. But dude, much props to Alan Jacobs tonight.
Yeah, Alan and Alex.
And
Alex, they were all over.
Great. I feel like I'm kind of learning to know a man. Thanks, Skylar, for bringing those people into our lives. I appreciate it. Guys, man, good show. I hope. I'm sorry. Somebody's going to have to smack me where I don't talk as much.
No, that's fine. I think we all talked
episode.
a pretty good amount. So yeah, there are some awkward silences, of course, that'll have to be edited out and stuff. But
well, I mean,
Don't tell anybody.
yeah. Well, I mean, right now, well, I mean, everybody sees this anyways.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to ask this question before we get off.
Yeah.
Should we take down the live recordings at any phase? Because I mean, they're just up on a YouTube page. They don't come down.
I don't see why you should.
Yeah. I mean, everybody gets to see the raw nature of what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Even after the show is done,
It depends on what we say in these recordings.
I'm gonna pose a question for a topic coming soon.
Okay.
And it's gonna be kind of Christianish kind of thing, but should we be very as people?
Mm-hmm.
Should we hide who we are because of the people that are around us that believe the way they, or should we just be who we are all the time, no matter what, to keep who we are as real and honest and open?
Gotcha.
Well,
that's a good question.
Who you are, like, I would see there a difference in being who you are and then stopping, like, not doing certain things.
Yeah.
So, like, you drink alcohol.
Yes.
If you were to go to a place where everyone is an alcoholic, but they're recovering, like an AA place, I would suggest that you don't drink alcohol. And that's not changing who you are, even though it's something you would normally do.
Well, they shouldn't be serving alcohol at an AA meeting.
That's true.
You could have brought your own.
Yeah, but that kind of defeats the
BYOB
purpose.
to the AA meeting.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I shouldn't be going to an AA meeting.
I mean, not even if it's a meeting. It's just like you happen to be at a house with people who are recovering. Something like that.
Okay, if I'm in my own house. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that would make more sense because.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And I know, Miles, you're coming over to the house, and you're a recovering alcoholic.
Mhm.
Okay. I will not offer you a beer. I may not drink a beer in front of you. Okay. If I go to somebody's house and there are a couple of people drinking, and I have a beer, but yet there's a recovering alcoholic there I don't know, no.
Yeah, well, that's different, but yeah.
I wouldn't do something with the intent of something like that. But if I'm doing it just to appease somebody, let's just say I go to a church and I'm at the store, I'm at Food Line, and I'm going to buy a 6-pack of beer, okay, which that's fine. But yet I see somebody from the church there, and I go down an aisle so they don't see me with it. What is the point of that?
I don't know, like, it's kind of a sketchy subject when it comes to being a stumbling block to people. And so,
That is a whole podcast in itself.
Oh yeah.
Because what is a stumbling block? Am I causing that person to sin?
well, I wouldn't say in that situation, like, I don't even know if that would be considered even being a stumbling block, but, like, I guess, think of it from this situation of me being a intern youth pastor at the
Okay.
church that I'm at.
Right.
And so if I were to go to the store and my youth happen to be at that store and they see me buy a 6-pack.
Right.
Now, the kids who are looking to me for leadership are thinking, like, regardless of kind of where that's coming from, like, all they know is that I'm getting beer, and if they, like, they could be taught, oh, that just means that he's an alcoholic or a drunk or whatever. Like, they don't necessarily know everything behind what's going on.
Okay.
And so I would intentionally not buy alcohol because I'm at North Greenville and because I want to be.
That's the primary
Yeah.
reason.
All right, look. Let me say this very clearly. Okay, when I was a youth pastor at First Baptist, I didn't drink any alcohol. Do you know why I didn't drink any alcohol at First Baptist?
Because, well, I would think for the same reason I was saying.
Because of perceptions of other people.
No.
Okay.
I didn't drink alcohol at First Baptist and I didn't say I didn't. Towards the end, I quit drinking years before First Baptist. Before I was even in the ministry, I stopped drinking because I had an issue with it, and it was before any of those things. I didn't know how to deal with it and control it. I wasn't an alcoholic because I didn't need it to function, but I just, when I had a drink, I'd drink too much. I didn't know how to properly control what I was doing. It's like video games. You can have too much video games. You got to know how to properly control it. So I quit video games too, right about right after my little phase at first. But when I started drinking again, I was out at a youth pastors conference when I had my first beer in like ever, and I was around thousands of pastors and youth pastors. I didn't care who was there or what they was looking at me as. I'd come to a place where I knew I could handle what I was doing at that moment. I had one beer, I got up and I left. So now when I have a beer, I get up and leave. If I was a youth pastor today and I was at the store and I have no problem with having a beer and I go to the store and buy a beer and a youth sees me, well, if they don't tell me they see me and they run off, at some point somebody's going to come to me, they saw you buying beer. Mm-hmm. Well, then I can explain it. But I'm not going to worry about somebody's perception of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's a bad person. Well, yeah, I'm a bad person. That's who I am. But if you're going to think because I have a 6-pack of beer in my hand, it changes who I am and what I can do, no, I don't do that anymore.
Well, when Paul speaks specifically about stumbling blocks, he's telling you to avoid being a hindrance to those who are less mature in the faith than you.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's not necessarily in the context of someone's an alcoholic or that.
Exactly.
It's usually it's usually to help them not to freak out most of the time is what it is, and it's usually in regards to food rather than alcohol. I don't think he ever specifically addresses alcohol, but he talks about food specifically that's been blessed, offered to idols. Exactly. She's basically saying you can eat it, but there's situations where you probably shouldn't because your new brother in Christ over here will not understand. He has a less of a understanding of the faith, so he's going to think it's going to hurt his faith. That's what's going to happen.
And that's basically what I was saying with the youth.
Well, it depends. I guess it depends on the context and culture that you're in. You got to know your audience.
Definitely.
Like if it's me teaching the youth, like in today's culture, I mean, even the youth I've always taught that alcohol is not a sin in of itself. So therefore they understand that because it is what it is. But it's like cussing. Cussing to me is not a sin of itself. It's just the context of where you use it and how you use it and who you use it in front of. We talked a little bit about last week or the week before last. Everything's when it comes to a stumbling block, and I see a stumbling block is a stumbling block is where you do something for somebody that will cause that person to literally fall into sin, into temptation. It takes an immature believer. It depends on where you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from Paul's point of view, or when Jesus kind of talks about it as well, if you cause that kid or that person to stop believing in sin, if that's the cause of that nature, then yeah, that's a stumbling block. But just because there's not a fine line to it, there is places that it happens. Most Christians tell you, well, when I go out to eat at a restaurant, I won't have a beer because I don't know who's there, and I don't want to be a stumbling block for anybody. What the hell are you talking about? Like, if I go to the restaurant Tuesday night, we go to Chili's. After the uprising, I have a beer. I don't care who's there. I'm not causing anybody to sin. If me drinking a beer is causing you to fall into temptation or sin or to have adultery or whatever, then that's your own problem, not mine. You know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of see it. It kind of just depends. Like if I were, and by the way, Alex, I am 21, so because yeah.
I think that may have been for me when I said why didn't I drink alcohol. I was way past 21.
Yeah. But if I were to go to like after I graduate North Greenville and I am hanging out with some of my friends who have also graduated from there, and I've never seen any of them drink. I don't know about what their stance on it is.
Yeah.
If I were to go out to a bar with them, I would ask them first if they mind if I get a drink, and if they say,
if you go to a bar, the intent of going to the bar is to drink.
That's a good point.
Look, if I go to that,
right, if you go to Chili's and sit down, that's one thing. But if you go to the bar at Chili's,
I mean, I've done that because there was seating there. But regardless, I'm at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Before I order alcohol, I would ask my friends if they would care, because if they would find that as something that would be a stumbling block, then I'd be like, okay.
Well, in that context, I don't even know if it's really a stumbling block issue. It's more of a respect issue, though.
Yeah.
It's you're saying
you know your audience.
If you don't want me to drink, then I won't drink around you. That's
I mean, you know your audience, but my thing is that if they're my friends, they should know that I'll have a beer.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I know you wouldn't, but I mean, it's a moot point for you. But for me, it's different. I don't think that. I think the problem is that we throw that phrase or that word stumbling or stumbling block around so loosely that it loses.
I agree with that.
It loses its course of meaning for Christians. You know, it's not that. It's something totally different.
I feel like it is, like specifically with alcohol. I feel like that's very, like, because what it's referring to biblically is some people think that it's wrong to eat such and such, but
it was wrong. It was wrong to eat food offered to idols. It was wrong. It wasn't like, oh, there's a gray area here and we shouldn't. You know, we don't know if we should or shouldn't do this. There was a point in Judaism through that area that those people knew that you could not eat that meat.
Yeah.
But for alcohol, this is my thing. Alcohol in of itself is not a sin.
Yeah, but
to have a drink is not. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't state it in the Bible. No. So they're adding their own belief system to it.
Yeah, but regardless of whether you added your own belief system to it, they will swear up and down.
I don't care.
Well, I think that you should.
If you believe something that is false, and it's not there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you it's not there, and you continue to believe it. It's my obligation to cater to your false belief.
I think that in some situations, yes, if it's something like, I mean, if someone tells me that it's a sin to drink alcohol, I'm going to tell them why I don't think that it is.
Right.
But that's just another situation of that. So same thing with like Pentecostal churches and the way that they speak in tongues. I don't think that that's appropriate. With that being said, if they were to bring that up to me, I wouldn't say, well, you're stupid because you're doing this. That isn't in the Bible.
That's totally different, though.
I mean, it's a belief system that they have.
No, but what I'm saying is it's different, though, because if I go into a Pentecostal church and they're speaking in tongues, I'm not going to say anything to them about it, right? And they're not
church.
Right, and I'm not going to say, and they're not going to say anything to me about not speaking in tongues. You see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that I'm trying to protect somebody from something that is not like they believe me having a beer is a sin, but it's not. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I shouldn't have a beer because they believe something that is false. You see what I'm saying? I should cater to their false belief.
I know. I feel like... essentially, yes. I do think that you should. And I think that that's what, regardless of it not being a sin anymore or whether it was never a sin...
It's never been a sin.
Yeah, I know. But biblically, like, looking at those verses in the New Testament, those sins are no longer...
No, it's never been a sin to drink alcohol.
I'm talking about the eating the...
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
It is no longer a sin to eat...
Well, because he made everything clean.
Yes. What I'm saying is, with that being said, if they were to believe that, they're essentially believing a false idea. I should just say, oh, well, you're wrong, and then I'm going to eat that whatever right in front of them. but I
Yeah.
don't because I'm catering to that false belief that they have because they're young in their faith. So I think that the same thing should be taken into account of with anything else. Like if someone thinks that it's a sin for me to cuss, I'm specifically not going to cuss in front of them.
Cussing and drinking is different for me, though. Cussing is more of the vulgar nature of how people believe. There's nothing vulgar about drinking a beer.
Some people would say that there is. Like people who grew up in an alcoholic family would think that it's really vulgar.
Right, but see, then I know my audience.
Yeah.
But if I'm going out somewhere and I'm going to do what I'm doing and they see me do it, though, and then they're all pissed off about it, I'm not going to go out of my way to cater to somebody, number one, that I don't know. Now, if you're an alcoholic and you sit down with me, and I know you are, I won't drink in front of you. All right, unless you go, I don't have no problem with it.
Yeah.
We have a friend that, had an issue with it, but he absolutely has no problem with it. So in those situations, right.
Yeah.
But my problem is that it's not the fact of being considerate and respectful as much as it is catering to somebody just because they want to control my actions because they believe something that is not right.
Before I say anything to that, does anyone else want to say something? Because me and Keith have just kind of been going back and forth. Don't know if you guys have anything you want to say.
I don't know if you've been watching my screen, but I've just
Playing with a pop filter.
and just drinking.
I need a beer too right now.
That's what he has to say about the subject matter. Is he's
Like, I finished off this bottle while you guys were talking. But,
Alex says something. Alex said that his grandma went out to eat with some friends of hers and ordered a beer. Some people from the church walked in and said that she was uncomfortable and thought she might have caused damage to her reputation with the church because they saw her drinking a beer. That's my problem.
Yeah.
That's my problem right there. That they're putting a restriction on you that has no bearance or validity. That they're doing it because they think that they're right, and they will damage you. They will slander you. They will do things to you because you don't line up with what they believe.
Well, in all fairness, you're doing the same thing back to them. Like I know that you have essentially more justification in saying, okay, in Scripture it does not say anything against this. But with that same thing being said,
I'm not damaging their reputation.
No. You're assuming that because you're like, well, I'm right, I'm going to still go ahead and do this.
It's not about just being right. It's about the fact that it becomes, I don't want to say blackmail, but it becomes like this leverage that they have over you to make you do what they want you to do. That's not freedom.
Yeah, no.
Well, that's
I agree
true.
with that.
I think it's different depending on what situation you're in. If you're voluntarily a part of a group, if like say you go to a church where most people think alcohol in general is a sin, and you're voluntarily a part of that group, or if you go to school at a university where it's against certain rules or regulations to drink alcohol voluntarily, I say you don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you are voluntarily choosing to be a part of this group. You might as well respect your beliefs if you're going to voluntarily be a part of it.
Yeah.
However, if you choose,
however, there is a certain virtue in challenging those beliefs, and
yeah,
there is a virtue in that. But my thought is, if you feel that strongly about it, go somewhere where people don't care. Because there's a lot of churches where people don't care.
I feel like there's a time and a place for you to challenge different beliefs, and certain beliefs that I don't necessarily think. Well, no, I think that every belief should be challenged, but I believe that there's different times.
My problem is that I have a life to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of that life inside that box, behind that curtain, trying to live a life that I feel like I was putting on an act a lot of times because you had to present a certain image. Like we was talking about a couple weeks ago about being imperfect and not being perfect, At what point is what you're doing just become one big lie? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you... Now, I understand. Don't get me wrong, Miles. I understand the part about being respectful and not hindering somebody who has a real problem. My problem is basically catering to these people who want to control you, who have heard these things a number of times. Yeah, I'm not going to go drink in front of the little old lady at church on the church steps. But if I go out to a restaurant, I shouldn't have to worry about somebody judging me and putting opinions on me because I have a beer with dinner.
Here's something that I will say. I believe that there's a huge difference in how much I'm willing to cater to someone. And the way that I see this is more out of, like you were saying, out of respect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm significantly more willing to cater to someone that I'm friends with than someone in the church who despises me. So, like, I would, like, if someone in the church is really mad at me, I would be less willing to...
That's just spiteful,
That is kind of spiteful.
Honestly, solely because they aren't respecting me.
Right.
I'm not as willing to respect what they see as, I guess, acceptable. And so...
By the way, Jessica, I agree with you.
She wrote a lot. I'm going to keep talking and I'll read that later.
Okay, go ahead.
But, I don't know. It's just a level of... I guess you could call it spite, but if what they're doing is solely for the sake of getting something to hold above me, I'm really willing to say you can't hold anything above me and just do that. And like if they go to my pastor or whatever and expect him to come and talk to me about it, I expect him to come and talk to me about it, but I'm not going to apologize to him about doing whatever it is that I do.
Right. And I want to back up for a second. Jessica, just to let you know, I wouldn't be drinking with or in front of my youth, and naturally it's just the fact that, you know, I hate having to hide things. It's that nature of, like, I don't want anybody seeing me do it, so I've got to hide it from them. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. I'm not going to sit in front of my youth at my house and drink beer in front of them. That's... There you go.
Bring a keg to youth group and be like, haha.
Yeah, right?
I think it's about conflict.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, all of us, I don't think anyone here believes that alcohol is inherently a sin.
No.
It's really about how much conflict you're willing to cause or put up with.
Right.
I have very low tolerance for conflict, so I generally try to avoid it.
Yeah, I know.
So.
And I generally don't have a low tolerance for conflict. But I think for me, though, when it comes to this, it's less about, the whole youth thing. It's just an example. If I'm going to do it, then I'm going to. I don't want to have to hide because I'm afraid of what somebody's going to think about me. I do take in consideration other people's emotions, physical nature, and feelings. Then I would just be a butthole, you know. So, and we don't want to do that. That would be not loving. But I don't, and this is my whole point. If I'm doing something just to appease man, for the simple fact because just to make them happy, because they're getting their way, I don't think that's fair to me or anybody else.
Okay,
I agree with that.
What about in this sense? I mean, I don't know this stance, but I'm fairly certain that at the church that I'm working at, they do not accept alcohol. So even after I've graduated,
every Southern Baptist church in their bylaws said you cannot consume, sell if anything with alcohol, you cannot do anything with it.
Yeah.
I'm not Southern Baptist.
Exactly. I'm a Southern. I got an ordination certificate on the wall that says I'm a Southern Baptist. I'll tell you this. I did not know that. That was never told to me until one day we just reading some church, and it's the church covenant. I think it's either the church covenant or bylaws.
It's the covenant. It's not the bylaws.
It's the covenant,
and you don't have to approve the covenant to be a part of the Southern Baptist Convention.
But what I'm saying is that me having a job at this, like whether or not it's an official job or not, being the youth pastor of this church.
Yeah, I understand that. I agree with that.
I don't think that it would be right for me to
No.
consume alcohol while I'm there.
Oh no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because you're following the rules. You're following what's set up. That's fine.
Yeah, like you're voluntarily part of that church.
Yeah.
You're voluntarily part of that body, so you should respect.
But I'm
their
not talking
rules.
about you drinking. I'm not talking about you drinking in that church. I'm not talking about I'm talking about the sole situation of hiding things and not being yourself. If I go to work for, all right, I'll use this wide example. We used it a couple weeks ago. Colorado, they legalized marijuana, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a soldier in the U.S. Army, right, and if I'm in Colorado, I still can't smoke weed because I must adhere to the rules of the organization that I've volunteered to be a part of, whether they pay me or not. I understand that. But if I'm in the state of Colorado and I can smoke weed legally, right, and I'm only doing it just so somebody else doesn't think badly of me, then what's the point? I'm going to go hide behind my... I think once you start hiding it, it becomes an issue. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and I just see a difference between hiding something and then not specifically, I guess, I don't know. I see a difference in hiding something and not specifically doing it in front of everyone. Like, if I'm doing it for the purpose of, I'm only going to do this behind closed doors, and I'm not going to do this in front of Keith because Keith has a problem with it.
Yeah.
I see that as two totally different things.
See, I kind of agree with you. I think there's a big difference between, like, you go out, have a beer every now and then in a restaurant, but then specifically, the same restaurant, same place, there's someone there, but you want to hide it from them. I don't think that's great. But if you have a mindset, you're going out from the start, I specifically don't want to do this around these people for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's your personal prerogative. But again, that's you deciding what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if a person is trying to make me do something because they want it that way, then I have an issue with it.
Yeah. By the way, when you were talking to Skylar and you're like, I really wish you'd come back, I was positive that you were going to have the Baby Come Back song. I was so certain and so let down when it didn't happen. But anyways, I don't know. It's just wait, I guess we already moved on past what I was going to say. So.
I will say that that's a topic that is never going to be resolved.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
There's no topic that's going to be resolved because, talking about being transparent, I think there's levels to transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Like being open and honest about what you're doing. I think there are certain people you talk to about certain things, like maybe sexual immorality is reserved for certain people. Now there's some people who think that you should be open and honest about everything with everybody. It should just be laid out on the table.
See, I'm not like that at all.
And I'm kind of like that to a point, and I've kind of been like that. I remember the first time I just opened my mouth and said, "Yeah, I've had an addiction to pornography," and it was in front of like 35 youth students. No, it was way before you.
Well,
it was when Wesley was like a freshman in high school. It was like I think it was before. Yeah, it was a long time. It was before First Baptist. It was Ocean View days.
Maybe it wasn't the first time, but you said many times at
and I always felt that being honest and open about things is very important. I've come to learn that people will use that against you, but I still don't fear that though.
Well, I think context is key with anything, but specifically with issues, especially within the church. I think it's a good thing for you to say that in youth if you're in the context of saying, look, this is we're real. This is people. I have issues. We all have issues.
No, I don't think that. I think everybody to each their own. If you feel like you can be transparent with people, be transparent with people. If you don't, you got to be transparent with somebody. Right. Because if you live behind a curtain the whole time, if you live, I don't know. I just feel like I've lived too many years being boxed in, and I hate. And being boxed in less and less less ability to be the person I needed to be in Christ.
Yeah.
It was so difficult.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I feel like I'm really transparent, and with that being said, that would include if there's specifically something that I do that I know someone wouldn't agree with and not doing it in front of them.
Yeah.
I don't see that as something of me like hiding it. Like if someone were to ask me if I do something and that's something that I know would offend them, if they ask me, I'm going to say yes, I do that. But I specifically don't do that when I'm around you because I know that it would like be a stumbling block or whatever it might be. And so I guess maybe that's where I would see it as different because you're saying hiding it to where it almost seems like if they were to ask you if you were to do this, you would just say no because you're trying to.
Oh, it's a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't see it as lying if I were to drink and I go to a restaurant and not get alcohol. I mean, I guess to me it's not a big deal.
I mean, I don't get alcohol. I mean, let's be honest first. I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah, no.
I do have a beer here and there, but I'm not alcoholic.
But I guess that's maybe how we kind of differ because, I mean, I don't know. To me, it wouldn't be a big deal at all to not get something like that because, like, and I guess something more so that might work is like if I'm with someone that I know is Jewish and they don't like they don't eat pork or whatever kinds of meat, and so I go to a restaurant where I would normally get pork, and I know that would be something that they. Well, I guess I wouldn't really count. Like I feel like it wouldn't offend them for me.
Excuse me. Hell no.
Not honestly. No. Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem. Specifically because I'm outside of their religion too.
You gotta know who you're around. I mean, I got Mormon friends, but I drink coffee around them all the time, and they don't care. So I'll drink coffee around them all the time. If I'm scared, maybe I wouldn't do it. But
yeah, and I kind of feel like there's a level of that too. Like if I feel like they were going to be deeply offended, aside from just like, well, I don't know. What were you?
No, I don't know. I just feel that when it comes down to these things, like we're talking about stumbling blocks, and it always comes to drinking for some reason. I don't know why. And this is my thing. I educate people.
Mm-hmm.
I say, and people say, well, the wine in Jesus' day, it wasn't like the wine today. It wasn't as strong. And I'm like, that's such BS.
Yeah, that's
true. I mean, just go look at the first miracle and tell me if you can deny that wasn't real wine. If you don't want to drink,
that's real stuff.
Yeah. If you don't want to drink, and that's your prerogative, and that's how you got your church set up, or that's how you got your business set up, then in those walls, in that confine, then yes, there is none of that going on. But when you try to push your beliefs or your traditions or your values or whatever on another person because you think that you're right about it and trying to change that person's ways because you think that's the right way, even though it's not, that's where I start drawing the line. That's not a stumbling block no more. That becomes self-righteous.
Okay. This probably won't even mean anything. I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say. You specified even though it's not. So would that also apply to something that you believe to be completely true?
Like what?
Let's say I don't know. I guess we'll go with this. That's very clear that that's wrong.
Oh, yeah, bad.
So if there's a Christian that is saying that it's Man, I kind of put myself in a hole there.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Because
but here's
what I'll say to you.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
Finish it. Point was that there's some things where, I mean, I don't know, they view so strongly that alcohol is wrong.
Right.
And so regardless of the fact that they don't have, like, I believe that it's important to try and educate them in that.
Right.
But if they're not willing to accept that, I feel like we need to respect where they're at.
Well, here's my thing. Like going back to what Keith said earlier about the immaturity of a person.
Mm-hmm.
But most of these people doing what they're doing, what we're talking about, are not immature. They're not new in the faith.
I would say they're not new in the faith, but I would still say they're immature.
Not new in the faith. Okay,
Mhm.
they've been around the block for a while. They're set in their ways, their traditions. They're the ones who are doing this.
Yeah.
It still goes back to my point that this, in of itself, what I'm doing right now, is not wrong. I don't see it wrong, so therefore it's not a sin. Now, if it was a sin, then and they can explain that to me, then I'm like, I'm sorry, okay. Especially around you, I won't do this. But for me to say yes, I'm not going to drink this beer around you because I'm respecting your ability to control me because you don't want me to do it.
I don't think that that's what's happening though. I think you're viewing it wrong.
If it made them stumble, if it made that person stumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe I could see it, but it's not making that person stumble. Me drinking this beer is not making them go to the bar and buy one.
No.
Right? Me drinking this beer, the only thing it's doing is causing them not to like me.
Okay, well, what was happening in the New Testament when they talked about it and they're eating food that they weren't supposed to eat? It isn't making them want to eat that food.
Right, because they didn't know any better. So therefore, well, maybe, but also the fact that, they were, like Keith said, causing them to panic and get an uproar. Most people are not getting the panic and uproar and losing their minds because I'm having a beer.
That sounds exactly what's happening.
No.
I don't know.
They're just throwing judgment.
Yes.
That's it. Judgment. He wasn't talking about people judging you for eating the food. He's talking about people causing them to get all flustered about it. They're only getting flustered because they're judging me for it.
I mean, I know tons of people who, if I were to drink a beer in front of them, it would not make them hate me, it would not make them think that I was a bad Christian, but in soul-heartedness, they would think that I'm sinning and that they want to fix that. With that approach, I would still say I wouldn't see it as an issue. I don't think that it's wrong. I'm old enough. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I don't know. I would definitely say there's a difference in when they're trying to force their thing on you in a negative sense. But they could just be coming up to you in a loving way. And you're immediately assuming
No. If they come up to me in a loving way, that's a whole different ballgame. Whole different ballgame.
So would you not drink in front of them if you knew that they saw it as wrong, but they're not judging you for it? Now it sounds like you're doing it out of spite.
Maybe we're going about this wrong. My point is, if I go to a restaurant and I drink a beer, I'm drinking a beer.
Yeah.
If I come to your house, I'm not drinking a beer. Well, I don't know, your house I might, but but if I go to your house and I know you have an issue with drinking, I'm not. If I go to the old lady's house that goes to my church and she doesn't like drinking, I'm not drinking a beer. My problem is hiding it where I normally do it.
So if we were to go to a restaurant, you know that I have a huge problem.
That's different. That's
not a huge problem with me drinking, but just a huge problem with alcohol in general. Just I think that it's wrong.
But see, that goes back to my point. I know you, and I know you have a problem with it. So therefore, I wouldn't have a beer.
Yeah, but I feel like that's been the entire thing.
No.
It's been us knowing who the person is.
Right, but what I was saying is I don't want to hide who I am just because people want to control the fact that they believe the way they believe and they want me to believe the way they believe. They want me to act the way they believe. You see what I'm saying? That's the point I keep coming back to, is the fact that this person, this individual at this place says, I believe drinking's wrong and you should not drink and you're not going to drink and I'm going to cast judgment and do all these things because of that.
I don't know. I feel like we're both coming from two different places.
Yeah, I don't think you guys are on the same page.
Yeah, we're talking about the same
concept.
Yeah, same concept, but my scenario isn't coming from necessarily a hateful judgment place, which I know is very
Look, I'll put it to you like this. I wouldn't do something to somebody out of I wouldn't do something to somebody out of spite. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't go and Keith doesn't like drinking, and I see him coming to the restaurant. Hey, give me a beer. No, I wouldn't do that. Now, no, I wouldn't do that.
But what if he was one of those people that was trying to control you in that? Then I feel like you. Okay.
I'll tell you like this: if I'm having a beer already, I'm not going to stop drinking it.
But it kind of seems to me, and I guess kind of here's where it seems with me, and I would say this is true regardless of whatever, but if you know that I have a problem with it and I happen to be in the restaurant, you I guess subconsciously now will, when you get that beer, because you would have gotten that beer anyways, I feel like knowing that I'm there, you would now be doing it out of spite, whether intentionally or subconsciously.
I'll say this: when I'm in a restaurant, and I can make this point, I don't know who's in a restaurant. Matter of fact, I really don't care, because I'm there to eat and do my business and get out. So I'm not really intentionally looking for people to drink around.
But if you happen to notice.
No, if I'm going to have a beer, let's put it like this.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a calf. It's a red.
Is it a calf?
Yeah.
All right, that's what I thought, but I wasn't certain if it was like.
I go to a restaurant with the intention of what I'm going to eat and what I'm going to drink. Right? Every Tuesday night, whenever we do go to Chili's, I know before I get there if I'm going to have a beer or not have a beer. Some nights I do, some nights I don't. It doesn't matter who is in that restaurant before I get there or after I get there. It's not going to change the outset of what I want to do, right? Especially if it's nothing wrong with it. Now, if we go to Chili's and somebody sits down at that table and I know that they have an issue with alcohol and they don't need to be around it, then I will, out of respect for them, I won't drink. But my problem still goes back to the fact that, it's one thing to do things out of respect. You're not hiding what you're doing. You're not covering up what you're doing for other people, so you can seem different, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it out of respect, but yet they know that you'll have a beer whenever. That's what I was talking about in the beginning, is that why do we have to hide these things? Why do we have to do something different, right? Out of respect, not drinking because you have an issue with alcohol, but you still know I drink alcohol, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But me hiding it from you so you can think I'm a better person for it, we shouldn't be doing that.
I mean, I wouldn't do it for that purpose.
That's what I was saying in the beginning. We probably went way around and talked way too long about it, but that's what I was saying in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, I still wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't not do it because of that purpose. I wouldn't do it for the sake of looking higher in front of you.
But they would know you drink alcohol.
If they were to ask me, yes. But they probably wouldn't find out aside from asking me. Which I don't actually drink alcohol.
Yeah, we know. You don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, we understand. We've got the point that you don't touch alcohol.
Yeah, I don't either.
What'd you say?
I said I don't either.
Yeah, me either.
It just froze on it in your mouth.
Yeah, you said it, and then it kind of like your screen froze like.
Gotcha.
On this note.
So, anyways,
it's about time to call it a night.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for sticking around, Scholar. Just hanging out, not doing anything.
Yeah, no problem. Just hanging out.
Last one.
I'm looking at dog and cat pictures.
You're looking at what?
I'm looking at dog and cat pictures.
Yeah, I know. I was freaking Justin.
It's my weakness.
Well, guys and girls, thanks for just hanging out for that way crazy.
You just got like a mini bonus episode.
Topic for next week.
a little mini bonus episode, I guess.
So.
It was good seeing you guys.
Yeah, it's good seeing you too.
Yeah, maybe Monday night.
Alright.
I may text you over the weekend about. I think Justin's gonna be down. We'll talk about the website.
Oh yes, please do.
Hey, for everybody who's watching online, thanks for sticking around for the past hour of us being really insane and have no point to life.
Cute cats and dogs, man. Cute cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs, man. Cats and dogs. Cat dog. Cat dog.
Alone in the world, little cat dog. All right. Good night, people.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
By the way, next week I will be here, but the week after next week I'm not going to.